What is up, boys and girls? Londrick here, and now I'm back with a wrestling Q&A. So just another Q&A video. You know how this works. But before I do that, I just want to say something, guys. I don't know how many people have noticed, but recently I've hit 1,900 subscribers. So you know what that means. I'm now less than 100 subscribers away from the big 2K. So that's been a big goal I've wanted to get for a while. It's probably taken me longer than I would like to get there, but I'm nearly there, guys, now. So if you could all be kind to me and try and help me get the 2K as soon as possible. Share the channel with your friends and all that sort of thing. Get the word out there that I've got a good channel on here, because I really would love to get the 2K by in the next couple of months, hopefully. So we'll see. As I'm currently on, I think it's 1,905. So thank you for all the support I've been given and all that jazz. So yeah, but now we got out of the way, let's get to the Q&A session today. We've got a nice variety of questions which I like, so we'll get to them. Then we got, so the first question's from Jay Shepperton. Thoughts on the Sid and Arn scissor fight in 1993. So little background for people who don't know. WCW were on tour in the UK in 1993. Stayed in a hotel at Blackburn overnight. So obviously back then, wrestlers liked to drink after the matches a lot. I mean, I'm sure they do now as well, but I think back in the 80s and 90s it was a lot more common for wrestlers to go out drinking after the show. And then obviously sometimes when men go out drinking, it can go too far, and this is what happened here. So Drunkenson and Arn got into a big argument in the bar, end up having a fight, and end up getting separated. So later on that night, I think I'm pretty sure Sid went to Arn's room. I think it might be the way around, I'm not 100% certain. And then they went to it again, and then Sid decided to grab the scissors, start stabbing the shit out of Arn Anderson, like really bad, to the point where Arn Anderson's actually lucky to be alive. And some people think that I think Scorpio's the one who said he broke it up, and I think Scorpio and Vader were with the guys before the ambulance came. And of course, don't get me wrong, Arn's not innocent either. I mean, I'm pretty sure he did some stabbing as well, but Sid by far got the advantage and just really took it too far. And I mean, pretty scary situation really. Sid ended up getting fired from WCW as a result. As a matter of fact, Starrcade 1993 was not supposed to be Ric Flair versus Vader that year. It was supposed to be headlined by Vader versus Sid one-on-one. Sid was going to win the WCW title and become the top babyface in the company. Obviously, needless to say, after that, Sid was fired. I was gone from WCW for about 6 years after that. Yeah, I mean, really bad situation. Obviously, like I say, a lot of alcohol flowing and all that, and grown men acting like children and stuff like that. It was just a bad situation, and then just one of those times where sometimes the drinking and all that just goes too far. And WCW were right to fire Sid for that. Feels it was just a horrible thing for him to do. And yeah, fought on the April 40th, 1997, Raw from USA and South Africa. I can't really remember specific parts of the episode. I mean, obviously I did see it in 1997 when it happened, and then obviously I think I've probably seen it like once on the network since then. And I feel like it was just, didn't it go somewhere else as well? Because this is the Raw that We Are Pro Wrestling put as #1 worst Raw episode of all time. I think they were somewhere else as well, but I can't remember where it was. Yeah, because they were doing it alternating from in the USA and then going from South Africa where they're having a tour. But I'm sure, was it in Kuwait as well, maybe? Maybe I'm making this up, but obviously I can't remember specific matches and segments about the show. I mean, which should probably indicate that it was a pretty bad episode, because theory is, if it was a good episode, I would have remembered things from it. But yeah, it was a bad idea. I mean, the problem was when you see it play out on TV, The production looks horrible, which is one thing you usually count on WWE being great at. Bad as the show might be sometimes, as shitty as some of the storylines are, you can always count on WWE for a top-notch production quality show. But obviously, it was a house show in South Africa because of the South African tour, and that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like a cheap house show on TV, which just looked really, really bad. It was bad for the company. I imagine, like, if someone was flicking through the channels and they saw that, they thought, what the hell is this cheap ass shit? They wouldn't stay on the show, would they? I mean, I think they had the same problem when they did the Raw in Germany in March. I mean, even though that Raw had the amazing Owen Hart British Bulldog match, just the way it looked on television, poorly lit and all that, bad production, it just looked like a cheap production, which is, if you're a mainstream company, that's the last thing you want to have thrown at you. I mean, that's the thing. If you want to be a big time, you need big time production values. So, yeah, and then there's that. What have we got? Well, I've got a list here prepared. So, top 10 WCW Nitro matches. And isn't it strange when you think about it? I've been on this YouTube, 6 years now nearly, and I have never done a top Nitro matches video. So, this all topped my head. So, if I did an official list, I'd probably have a lot more time to think about it. So, these are the matches I've picked. So, number 10, Booker T versus Scott Steiner for the final Nitro for the WCW World and WCW United States title. Thought that was a really fantastic, well, not a fantastic match, but a very good, entertaining match. I mean, obviously the shitstorm that was WCW 2000, the real bright light of that were Booker T and Scott Steiner. You think if WCW had hung on, those would have been the next two guys really to carry the company. Maybe not so much Scott because he was physically failing, but Booker T definitely. I mean, really interesting to see though how these guys have come. I mean, for years it was synonymous with tag teams. Obviously Booker T and Harlem Heat and Scott Steiner and the Steiner brothers had both progressed to US title level, and then were both the world champions. Had a feud at the end of 2000, and obviously with the WWF buying WCW, I think the theory was they were probably going to try and keep Booker T, but they weren't going to pick Scott up. So Booker T in the last Nitro become the final champion of that company, as it was WCW. But what I mean by that is official champion for the company of WCW. I mean, they was WCW champions after Booker T, but they were WCW champions while in the company of the WWF, if that makes sense to you. But yeah, I think it was a cool moment on the last Nitro for Booker to get that moment. Now, number 9, Sting versus Diamond Dallas Page. Not from April 1999, but another title match actually that took place roughly a year before, and that was in March of 1998. I don't think Sting was in the Wolfpack yet. I think this was a bit after Super Brawl. May or may not have been after Uncensored, I can't remember, but obviously DDP was one of the most popular babyfaces at the time. It was a babyface versus babyface match. I mean, I actually just remember seeing this match in 1998, because this must have been a time I flicked on Nitro, because I definitely have a memory of seeing this at the time, and then of course I saw it like years later on one of the WWE Nitro DVDs that they put out like 5 years ago, maybe something like that. I think it was on volume 2. I'm pretty sure it was, but I definitely saw this match in 1998. It could have been when Nitro was on 3 hours and Raw was 2, and I watched the first hour of Nitro, maybe. Or maybe I just flicked over to Nitro for the crack, I'm not sure. But I definitely saw this match in 1998. It's a really good match out there to watch. Number 8, Ric Flair, Randy Savage. Obviously, I can't remember all the dates for these, but during 1996, I mean, this is probably the most forgotten Flair and Savage match. I mean, obviously they had the feud in 1995, early 1996, but this was, must have been about June of 96, because it was right before the NWO started. I'm thinking it was in relation to the build-up to the Flair and Anderson versus Mongo and Kevin Green match at Great American Bash. Because if you remember that one, Savage was the manager for the football players. And Bobby Heenan came out of management retirement to manage Rey Flair and Anderson. So there's that one. Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko the night after. Bash at the Beach 1986, where Mysterio won his first Cruiserweight title. That was a great Nitro match. I mean, they had the match at the Great American Bash where Malenko won. Then Mysterio absolutely tore the house down with Psychosis at Bash at the Beach. And then he went out to beat Malenko the next night on Nitro to be the champion. Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. It was not sure the date, but I think it was either late October or early November in 1995. I mean, I saw this match on the years ago on the Chris Benoit DVD WWE put out. Yes, I had the Chris Benoit DVD while he was alive and all that. So these are two new guys to the company, relatively new, and they really just a chance for them to showcase themselves. And they beat the piss out. It was only like a 10-minute match, but what a 10-minute match it was. I mean, great performances from both men. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Number 5, Juventud Guerrero versus Billy Kidman the night after Fall Brawl. I think it was. It was on the same Nitro that Ric Flair came back and Goldberg faced Sting in the main event. The same Nitro Ric Flair came back in Greensboro. I think it was the night after Fall Brawl, but I could be wrong on that. It was for the Cruiserweight title. Billy Kidman had just left the flock and became a singles wrestler on his own, and then he won the Cruiserweight title right away from Juventud Guerrero. That was a great match, it really, really was. And then number 4, Ric Flair Randy Savage from February 1996. This was the one where Ric Flair beat Savage. So it was after Super Brawl. These two had, I think the Flair Savage rivalry is so underrated, to be honest with you. Especially the one in WCW. Especially in 95, it was one of the few bright sparks of WCW. And then obviously 1996, the Air Trade, they had WCW title back a couple of times. They had that cage match at Super Brawl, which was really good. And this is a really good one as well. Now, top 3, Ric Flair versus Eddie Guerrero from late May. It was the first Nitro to be officially 2 hours. So Nitro in the first few months was just like Raw, 1 hour. But the Nitro thing was going so well that it extended it to 2. Then last show, Ric Flair fought Eddie Guerrero. Thought they both made really good opponents for each other actually at the time in 96. They had some really good matches, of course. Eddie was good for Flair because Flair was getting older now, and obviously he wasn't Ric Flair in his prime anymore. But with the right guy, could still go. So with Guerrero's youth and athletic ability, he could help get really good matches out of Flair. And of course, it was great for Eddie because Eddie was young in his WCW career at the time. He'd been there less than a year, and for him to work with a legend like Ric Flair was just a great boost to his credibility. Now, these top 2 matches are both awesome and definitely must see. Number 2, Sting vs Diamond Dallas Page from April 26, 1999. The Great World title, it was probably Sting's last awesome match in WCW, and one of the last awesome matches in WCW history in general, to be honest with you. And obviously, this was a time where WCW had started getting worse. Obviously, I think the nosedive really happened in early 1999. But he occasionally got some gems like this. This match was amazing. I mean, Page had only been the champion for about 2 weeks at this point. I think he turned heel before this match. I can't remember exactly when the heel turn happened, but Page was stupidly turned heel. This match was amazing. I mean, some amazing near falls and all that sort of thing. And Sting actually won the world title, and then obviously dropped it back to Page later that night. This is a match you definitely got to see. It's got to be one of DDP's top 5 matches for sure, and definitely one of Sting's best matches, especially in the later portion of his career. Maybe the best Crow Sting match ever. I'm pretty sure when I did a list about Crow Sting a few years ago, I'm pretty sure I put that number 1. But obviously number 1, no surprise, I'm pretty sure you know the answer to this. Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit, October 1999, Owen Hart tribute match. So great background to this match. I mean, obviously, you know, Owen Hart had died in May of 1999. WCW had scheduled Monday Nitro at the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, which of course is the site of where the horrible incident happened. Bret Hart had just come back to WCW after taking a few months off after Owen's death, basically to grieve more than anything, and obviously collect his force together and all that. I mean, that's one thing I'll give WCW. They gave Bret Hart as much time off as he needed. I mean, obviously it would have been harsh for him to force Bret Hart to keep working after that. So yeah, basically he took time off to grieve and all that. And obviously it was a dark time in Bret's life. I mean, I'm sure he was pretty depressed after all that. He'd been back a little while, maybe a month, something like that. Not very long at all. Then obviously he thinks he sees that this Nitro's going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. So Bret requests a special match to take place in the show. A tribute match to his brother Owen with Chris Benoit, who of course was a big part of Owen's career. Obviously Benoit trained at the Hart family dungeon many years ago. Benoit and Owen pretty much started out together. They were friends in Calgary Stampede and all that stuff. In many ways Chris Benoit was kind of like an honorary Hart, because he was really close to the family and all that. So, and I think overall Bret Hart's WCW run had been a major disappointment. He'd never had a truly classic match there, not like the sort of matches he had in the WWF for sure. I mean, so this was his chance really to have another great match. I mean, Bret was 42 at the time and near the end of the road. I mean, obviously the end of the road came a few months later when he got the big concussions in the match with Goldberg, but I think even then Bret was probably thinking maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years left and I'm done. So this match was just a beautiful wrestling match, classic wrestling match. One of the best matches to ever air on free television. If you haven't seen this match, you have to check it out. It's pretty, because obviously it's 1999, where the era of baseball bats, run-ins, fucking tables, chairs, all the smut from the Attitude Era, all that. But this Bret Hart and Chris Benoit just had a wrestling match, and you could really tell it was totally different in this era. I think at first fans weren't that into it, but then as the match was progressing, they really got into it, and of course, so it really was Bret's last truly great match of his career. Yeah, it was Bret's last really awesome moment, really. That match definitely needs to be seen if you haven't seen it before. Then what we got? First, oh god, alright then, fine. Possibly Enzo Amore rape scandal. Yeah, this is going to be... I don't want to go into too much detail because it's a bit of a sensitive subject, but obviously Enzo has now been fired from the WWE. And all I'll say is I just want the truth to come out. Because I don't want to sit here and like call Enzo Amore a rapist and all that, in case it comes out that he's innocent. Because if I came here and completely trash Enzo Amore for being a rapist and all that, and then it turned out he was innocent, I'd feel really bad for that. I do think the guy's a bit of an idiot though, because I think he's a complete idiot actually, because I think by all accounts the main reason he got fired is because Enzo apparently knew as far back as October he was being investigated for this incident, but the fucking dumbass, or maybe he's just a completely arrogant idiot, egotist, didn't bother telling WWE about this. And WWE only found out when the PR department was getting awkward phone calls and all that, asking about it. So that Enzo Amore is an absolute retard for that. I mean, that's the thing though, like, if you get investigated by the police, you've got to tell your employers. You just have to do it, because obviously, so Enzo, he hasn't helped himself doing that. Like, I mean, if you get investigated, you have, because obviously it makes WWE look so bad from a PR standpoint. Obviously, like obviously WWE weren't prepared for this, so obviously they They then suspended Enzo Amore, then like maybe a day later fired him. So obviously it's just a guess. It's just a guess, a complete guess. I would say WWE probably have a good reason to think he's guilty if they fired him. I mean, if WWE thought he was completely innocent, they probably wouldn't have fired him. That's my thought. And did he do it? I don't know. I mean, all I'll say is, I mean, I've seen a couple of videos. There was this girl's friend came on YouTube. I saw they'd pretty much accused her of being a liar. Accused her of being like mentally ill and all that, and which she has since admitted to being mentally ill. So could she be lying? I mean, could she have slept with Enzo Amore, then Enzo Amore wasn't interested, so she decided to get vindictive and accuse him of rape? Possibly. I mean, I will say there's reasonable doubt here, but who knows? I don't know. Was he guilty or not? I don't know. We'll have to... All I'll say is let the police do the jobs and then see what happens. If Enzo is innocent, which he very well may be, I suppose the right thing for WWE to do would be give him his job back. But as far as I can tell, Enzo was on thin ice with the company anyway. I mean, there's various reports of him being an idiot and a dick backstage. I mean, I'm sure you all heard the story of how Roman Reigns supposedly kicked him off the WWE bus on the European tour last year, and just general attitude problems in general. But obviously, needless to say, if Enzo Amore is proven in a court of law to be guilty, then that's it, career over. This man can never work in the wrestling business again, because obviously everyone who works with him is going to be tarnished with that brush now. So say if Enzo Amore was guilty, went to prison for however many years, then he came out and then WWE re-signed him back. How disastrous would that look from a PR standpoint? I mean, it'd be like, how the fuck can this company hire a convicted rapist, you know? And that's the problem. So all I'll say is now is I do think there's reasonable doubt that he did this, but we shall see. Let the police do the work. That's all I'll say. Then what pay-per-views look shit on paper but are actually good, and vice versa. Obviously, I get two examples of pay-per-views that look good and didn't turn out as well. Obviously, the one I always go to was Halloween Havoc 1998 in WCW. I think I said this on other videos before, but I'll say it again. You just got to look at that card. Goldberg versus DDP, Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior 2, Bret Hart versus Sting, Kevin Nash versus Scott Hall, and I think the Steiner brothers went 1-on-1 as well. So you're looking at that. Is that not a seriously stacked card? But the only problem was the matches just did not really deliver. Apart from Goldberg Sting, which was awesome. I mean, Nash versus Hall was not very good. Hogan Warrior, do I really need to talk about that one? I'm not going to. Just watch it. Bret versus Sting was only average, which is a really big disappointment, because Bret Hart versus Sting, you think, was one of the biggest 1990s dream matches that just failed to deliver. So yeah, as a result of that, we get a pay-per-view that looked awesome, but a pay-per-view that was just so-so in the end. I mean, you only really had two standout matches on that show. Chris Jericho versus Raven in the opener, and then DDP and Goldberg in the main event. Then there's a WWE one. I go quite recently to SummerSlam 2016. I mean, I will say SummerSlam 2016 was a borderline good show, but look at the card. This show could have been awesome. I mean, it really could have been one of the best SummerSlams of all time. I mean, you had Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler, Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, Sasha Banks versus Charlotte, and for the most part, these matches under-delivered. I mean, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, let's be honest, that was one of Brock's big, lazy, prick, shitty matches. You know what I'm on about. The type of matches Brock Lesnar's been having for the last couple of years. But honestly, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, a lot of people saw that as a big dream match. And that match should have been so much better, really, shouldn't it? And I think Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, again, a borderline great match for sure. But I feel like this match could have been a classic. I mean, granted, Finn Balor's getting the shoulder injuries probably has something to do with it not being as good as it could have been. Then you had Charlotte versus Sasha Banks, which was just a good match, but far from a great match at all. I mean, the only match that really over-delivered on its hype was Cena and AJ Styles. I mean, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler again was a good match, but far from a great or a memorable match. So then to flip the other way, pay-per-views did not look that good, but were actually good. Right, so the one I go with is really WrestleMania 23. So I remember, obviously you won't know, but I'm sure see how many people remember this. So I was watching YouTube back in 2007. I hadn't made my channel. I didn't do that until 2011. And obviously I was just on the general wrestling IWC wrestling community. And most of us were dreading WrestleMania 23. We all thought it was going to suck. I mean, just to take how long, this is back in the days where, let's see how many guys remember this. Bill and Doug were the main guys on the YWC, if you remember those guys. The guys that used to tell you how much WWE sucked and TNA ruled. They were obviously people like Truth Slayer was one of the top guys on here. P.S. Powers, Moral Virus, those sort of guys. I mean, those guys aren't really around anymore, but I'm sure some of my listeners will be old enough to remember them. So yeah, we already thought WrestleMania 23 was going to be a bad WrestleMania because on paper you had Cena, Shawn Michaels. Obviously at that point the jury was still out on John Cena. I mean, most of the IWC's attitude was that John Cena sucks. No one really liked. Everyone thought John Cena was a terrible wrestler. And Shawn Michaels hadn't exactly had an amazing 2006 by his standards. Just obviously, 2006 was probably one of Shawn Michaels' worst years ever. Then obviously Undertaker Batista, we were all dreading that match because since Batista came back from injury in mid-2006, he'd looked awful. I mean, he'd never had a good match at all since he came back. He just looked generally bad in the ring. And obviously, you look at Undertaker's history. Undertaker's had a lot of terrible matches with big men over the years. And we thought this was going to be one of them. And then obviously, Lashley versus Umaga, the Vincent Trump thing. That looked like it was going to be dreadful on paper as well. Great Khali and Kane. As a matter of fact, the only match people were looking forward to was a Money in the Bank ladder match. So I'll go for that one. Next set of questions come from Double X Prince. If Daniel Bryan and CM Punk join New Japan Pro Wrestling, could that make them more mainstream? More mainstream, yeah. Will it automatically make them competitors with WWE? Probably not. I mean, although you'll see what Chris Jericho going to New Japan's done. I mean, from what I hear, New Japan Network subscriptions have gone up significantly in the Western area, so US, UK. Chris Jericho being there has definitely made New Japan more visible to the international audience, so that's what they're trying to grow. And I feel like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, they would have an even bigger effect. I mean, especially CM Punk. I mean, fuck me. Let's say CM Punk loses his next UFC fight, which is not confirmed but supposed to be happening in June in Chicago, and then say the UFC cut CM Punk because he got beat again, and then I don't know, say Power Struggle next year, CM Punk shows up in New Japan, challenges Kenny Omega or something like that, or maybe even go after Okada or Tanahashi. I think the internet would fucking blow up. I feel like everyone would be talking about New Japan. That would get him loads of attention. Same thing, because obviously Daniel Bryan, if he leaves the WWE, which he probably is, that's probably what's going to happen in September. He's going to go back to American Dragon Bryan Danielson. So, say Bryan Danielson shows up on New Japan, wrestles at Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah, I do think that's going to get him a lot more mainstream attention. Do I think there'll be direct competitors for WWE? No, because obviously WWE is like the global brand. To the general public, WWE are wrestling, if you know what I mean. So obviously New Japan aren't that popular yet. I mean, they've got the following for sure, and they've grown absolutely. But I don't think there'll be. I'm not sure if there'll ever be serious challenges to WWE globally. I mean, sure, in certain parts of the world like Japan and all that, but And definitely to the die-hard wrestling fans, I think mainly prefer New Japan now, but to the masses, to the mainstream audience, WWE will always be number one in my opinion. But that's not to say New Japan can't be a nice number two, but and maybe CM Punk and Daniel Bryan could help make that happen. I think so anyway. What matches are you excited to see Ricochet have in NXT? Not that many, to be honest. I think I'm more excited to see what he could do on the main roster with people like Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, etc. I think there's two big ones, but I don't think they're going to cross paths, because I think they're going to go to the main roster, and that's Drew McIntyre and Andre Cien Almas. I think they would have made awesome opponents for Ricochet, but Ricochet's just coming in now, and I think both Almas and McIntyre will likely be on the main roster after WrestleMania. So I think Velveteen Dream would be a good one. I don't know if you saw, like a few weeks ago, Velveteen Dream put out a tweet saying he's sick of indie guys coming in trying to take his spot. So that could be his thing now, where Velveteen Dream feuds with all the indie standouts. That'd be a good match. The main one for me though, if they brought Pete Dunne in, UK champion, had him face Ricochet on either a takeover or regular NXT, that would be fucking awesome. Imagine that, Ricochet versus Pete Dunne. I mean, that'd be fucking incredible, to be honest with you. And I suppose the only one's Aleister Black, really. That'd be quite interesting. And what have we got? He's a good one. Who should be Kurt Angle's final opponent? Now, obviously WrestleMania this year, looks like it's going to be him and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie. But I do feel like Kurt Angle should have at least one singles match before he retires. Maybe next year's WrestleMania 35, or SummerSlam this year, maybe. And then you can have one more singles match and then retire. Now, the choice I've gone with could be a controversial one. People might not like what I'm about to say, but before you go getting angry at me, just hear me out. I think Kurt Angle's final opponent should be Jason Jordan. Yep, I said it. Not AJ Styles, not Samoa Joe, not Shinsuke Nakamura, not even Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns, but Jason Jordan. Now, granted, would Angle versus AJ, Angle versus Nakamura, etc. be a better match than that? Yeah, but you think if you want Kurt Angle to retire, you want him to pull over a young up-and-comer on his way out, give this up-and-comer a massive rub, and obviously Jason Jordan could be that guy. Obviously, they've got a great story behind this as well. I mean, they could build it as a father versus son match. They could build this big storyline around Jason Jordan turning on his dad, getting mad at him, saying, you weren't there as a kid for me, you gave me up, you put me for adoption, and now you want to try and be a dad to me. Fuck you, I can do this on my own. I'm not going to get by on being Kurt Angle's son anymore. It's over. And obviously then you could do the thing where Kurt Angle's trying to be humble, saying, no Jason, I'm not going to fight you. You're my son, I love you. And then obviously Jason can just get more arrogant about it. Really prodding and poking Kurt Angle to the point where Kurt Angle snaps and says, that's it, I'm going to have to teach you a lesson. I mean, you ungrateful little bastard. I mean, now you're gonna fight Dad, and I'm gonna show you how it's done. So, Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan, father versus son. Would the match be awesome? Probably not. But could it tell an entertaining story? Damn right. I mean, I could kind of see it being similar to Bret versus Owen at WrestleMania 10, where Kurt Angle's not as aggressive as he would be, but he wants to teach his son a wrestling lesson. Jason Jordan could be the ultimate heel, being a little arsehole, slapping Kurt Angle and stuff like that. And then, of course, they can do it where Jason Jordan beats his dad, it gives him a big victory. And I'm sure the heat Jason would get would be awesome for this. And then maybe down the line, Jason Jordan could be a top heel, who knows. But there you go. Kenny Omega signs with WWE. Does he need to go to NXT? Nope. I feel like Kenny Omega going to WWE would be exactly the same as AJ Styles. No NXT. You put him straight in the main roster. Because this is not a shit on NXT, because I love NXT. I'm a big fan of NXT, but Kenny's really too big for NXT. I mean, Kenny Omega's a much bigger star than, say, I don't know, who's just come in, Ricochet or EC3, someone like that. Because you think for WWE to get Kenny Omega, they're going to have to pay absolutely top whack for him. They're going to have to pay him like top dollar, like in the high six figures, maybe pushing, maybe 750, maybe pushing $1 million a year, because obviously Kenny Omega has a great deal with New Japan. Obviously for me, he's the biggest star not working for the WWE right now, and obviously Kenny Omega will be his mid-30s, so if WWE gets Kenny Omega next year, which is when his New Japan contract expires in January 2019 by all accounts, so say WWE gets him then, I think you've got to push him right at the top, like straight at the top, pretty much like AJ Styles. He goes straight to Raw, SmackDown, goes straight at the top of the card. Like, obviously, maybe you can have like an upper mid card feud first with somebody, and then after that, go after the big dogs like Roman Reigns and AJ Styles and Seth Rollins, etc., etc. So Kenny Omega comes to WWE, he goes straight to the main roster for sure. And what are some wrestlers that should leave the WWE and go elsewhere? Well, I could say Dolph Ziggler, but I think that's a bit redundant now. Well, that's just not going to happen, is it? Obviously, Dolph Ziggler should have left WWE at least a year ago, maybe even longer than that, to go elsewhere. Obviously, now he's signed a 2-year contract, and it seems to me that Dolph Ziggler just wants to course in the WWE mid-card for the next couple of years, then just pack it in. So that's a shame. But the big one for me has got to be Rusev. I mean, seeing how this is going lately, the Rusev Day thing's getting so over. Yet WWE are just blatantly ignoring it and not really giving a shit about it. And obviously Rusev has got so much to give, hasn't he, really? He's got size, look, in-ring ability, charisma. Relatively young, I think he's like 31, 32. So you got to think, like, come on. I mean, imagine if he left WWE, went to the Indies, went to New Japan. I feel like he'd do really, really well for himself. Imagine Rusev would fit right in at New Japan. I mean, he could go to the Indies and face people like Michael Elgin, Keith Lee, etc. So Rusev's one of the main ones, really, that I can think of. And I think in the next year, see how his WWE title reign goes, but I could see the next couple of years Shinsuke Nakamura going back to New Japan. I think Hideo Itami, that's a big one. I mean, I don't see a real future for Hideo Itami in WWE. I mean, he was in NXT for a while. Obviously, injuries plagued him, that's fair enough. But I think he's on 205 Live. He went out the first round to Roderick Strong in the tournament. Obviously, you're thinking realistically, Hideo Itami could be the top heel on 205 Live. But it seems like that's not what WWE want for him. So, and I just feel like it'd be best for him to just get out of the WWE, go back to Japan, and go back to nowhere. Maybe do something like what Morofuji did, work a few shots in New Japan, maybe work in the G1 or something like that. And if he's good enough, maybe get a title shot against the IWGP champion or challenge one of the other titles like the Never Openweight Championship or something. Yeah, but I feel like Hideo Itami should definitely look to be moving on, to be honest with you. Trying to think of who else. I think Cesaro eventually should move on, because I think this is as good as it's ever going to get for Cesaro. I really do. Obviously, Stewart had multiple opportunities to push Cesaro to the main event, but they've never done it, and they're probably never going to do it, are they really? So I feel like tag team with Sheamus is the best it's ever going to be, really. So I think maybe if he got out, I mean, if he went to New Japan now, he's about the same age AJ was when he came in, so you can at least have a good 2-year run there. I mean, not saying he's going to be the IWGP champion or anything like that, but you could easily see Okada mixing up with the likes of Tanahashi, Okada, Ibushi, Omega, etc. Really, couldn't you? Then I feel like if this Balor Club thing doesn't pick up, Gallows and Anderson have got to move on. Because let's be honest, the WWE run's just been a big disappointment overall, hasn't it? Really, in my opinion, anyway. Not really been a big fan of it at all. I mean, it's had a few bright spots, but not many, really, has it? To be honest. So I think they go back to New Japan in the IWGP Tag Team division. Maybe even rejoin Bullet Club and see how that goes. And that's a wrap. Owen Peterson next. What are your thoughts on the WCW pay-per-views of 1999? Gonna have to be honest, I haven't really seen many of them in full at all. Pretty much the ones I've reviewed on the channel are the ones that I've seen. I've like seen odd matches here and there, but I've never actually sat and watched most of the entire pay-per-view. So, but from what I can gather, most of them pretty much sucked. Give or take a few matches. Obviously, Starcade, which I've seen, was a pretty awful show. Obviously, but however, there was one big shining star in this. Spring Stampede was amazing. It was definitely the last great WCW pay-per-view. One of the best pay-per-views he ever done. I mean, Spring Stampede 1999 is an awesome show. I mean, you got so many good matches. Juventud Guerrera versus Blitzkrieg. Yeah, good hardcore match with Bam Bam Bigelow and Hack. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko versus Raven and Perry Saturn. Scott Steiner and Booker T is a pretty good match. And then the main event, really enjoyable. Ric Flair versus DDP versus Sting versus Hollywood Hogan. So yeah, maybe one day I'll review a couple of 1999 pay-per-views, but we'll see. Now, this is a good one. Top 10 worst Attitude Era moments. Now this is a good one because as great as the Attitude Era was, really, and it was an amazing time. It's not to say there wasn't any bad things on it, because there was a lot of shit, and I've got a list here. So, number 10, the hanging of the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15. Oh my god. So, if you remember Undertaker as Big Boss Man, Hell in a Cell, after the match, the Brood came down from the ceiling, attached a noose to the Hell in a Cell, and the Undertaker hung the Big Boss Man, apparently killing him on live pay-per-view. So he's been, Boss Man's going to be gone a while, right? No, not really. He just popped up the next night on Raw and was like, I'm fine. But yeah, just awful. I mean, I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they did this. It just looks so bad. And it's one of those things that if you're watching this in front of a non-wrestling fan, you've got to be so embarrassed about it. And then number 9, you got Rikishi confesses to running over Steve Austin. I mean, there were worse segments for sure than this, but because of the payoff to this awesome build-up. I mean, the build-up to who ran over Stone Cold was amazing. I loved that as a teenager. I thought, yep, this storyline really struck a chord with the fans. People couldn't wait to find out how I ran over Austin. Then it was Rikishi? What? I mean, fair enough. Surprise the fans. I've got no issue with that in general, but this is really out of left field to have Rikishi be the one to run over Austin. And then the reasons for it was bad as well. Doing it for The Rock because he's bringing race into it. Because the WWF is all about the good old white boys. The Island Boys never got a chance because of white guys like Hogan, Austin, Bruno Sammartino, etc. It was just bad. And number 8, with the toned down rape of Trish Stratus by Vince McMahon in March of 2001. Oh, this was awful. I mean, this was terrible segment. Really offensive. In fact, so offensive, the Sky Sports here in the UK refused to air it. So, obviously Vince and Trish had a big falling out. Trish wanted to prove her loyalty to Vince McMahon, so Vince being the big piece of shit that he is. First, oh god, I had Trish on her knees barking like a dog. Oh, making her go rough and all that. And then, oh god, he told Trish she was going to have to get naked in the ring. So Vince forced Trish into a bra and panties wet. Oh god. Obviously it wasn't actually a rape, but it was pretty much a toned down version of a rape. He was humiliating her. He's raping her of her dignity, if anything else. Then it looked like he's going to make her take her bra off, and then he stopped at the last minute. It was just like, that's a really uncomfortable segment. I mean, you look back, some of the stuff in the Attitude Era has not aged well, and this is one that, I mean, the way, honestly, sometimes the way they treated women in the Attitude Era was deplorable at times, and this is definitely one. I mean, thank God progress in wrestling, the world in general, has been made over the last 18 years, however long it's been. Oh yeah, 17 years. I mean, we're getting to the point where women are treated with respect and be serious now, so this is a horrible segment to look back on. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, But if you remember when Linda was running for Senate a few years ago, I think this was sort of the shit that opponents were using against her. Like horrible stuff the husband had done on TV. Then number 7, Mark Henry and Sammy. Oh God, this is. I mean, yeah, there was some smut in the attitude here, but a lot of it was hilarious. Like things like getting the choppy the pee-pee. I thought that was funny. Yeah, it was stupid, but it was funny. Then we got stuff like a lot of the sexual chocolate stuff was funny. I mean, when Mark Henry took China on that date on Raw, hilarious, right? Some of the stuff with PMS, Jacqueline and Terry Runnels, although pretty weird watching it on a wrestling show, wasn't bad stuff at all. But eventually Mark Henry started going out with China. And then China had a friend named Sammy that she was letting Mark Henry fool around with. And how convenient this just happens to be a camera there in the locker room, you know. Mark Henry's fooling around with this Sammy, goes to reach down a crotch, he's like, "Oh sweet Jesus, you have a penis." And then they takes the wig off and he goes, "Why do you think they call me Sammy, baby?" So yep, Mark Henry was making out with a transvestite. Oh, awful. Then I've got number 6. I've got The Undertaker in Balm, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, so even the top guys weren't excluded with some bad shit in the Attitude Era. And as far as Austin the Undertaker goes, they had so much great stuff in the Attitude Era. They even did some great stuff with each other. However, this in December 1998 is not one of them. It was just so. The week before, I think Undertaker had hit Austin over the head with a shovel. At some point, Undertaker, he must have knocked Austin out and kidnapped him. I can't remember the exact details behind it, but they were in this room. They were trying to make it look like a Frankenstein movie where Undertaker had Austin laid out on the table, and he was going to stab him and embalm him and all that. But obviously that got stopped. There was some kind of commotion. I think Kane was involved. If I'm remembering right, I think Kane burst in the room, then Austin got out. It was just weird shit. Really weird shit. And then we've got, what have we got now? How many have we got left? Number 5, not a moment as such, but I'm just going to put the whole concept in there, the Brawl for All. I mean, this has been talked about to death. I mean, a lot of IWC people have done videos of this. I mean, Wrestling with Regret done one. We Are Pro Wrestling done one. So I don't go in great detail about it. But overall the concept was just terrible. And then we got top 4. One word, Pepe. What is Pepe, you ask? Well, Big Boss Man and Al Snow were feuding. And Al Snow, outgrown head. I can't remember the details, but Al Snow didn't have head anymore. Well, now he had a little Chihuahua pet named Pepe that he was talking to. Obviously, Pepe's a little Chihuahua dog. Then, Big Boss Man kidnaps Pepe. Then, following on SmackDown, Big Boss Man invites Al Snow to his hotel room, saying he's going to give him Pepe back and all that. And Big Boss Man serves Al Snow dinner. Al Snow eats the dinner, and then the big reveal, the Big Boss Man, is what Al Snow just ate was his own little dog Pepe. So the evil Big Boss, oh God, and I swear to God this is fucking true. So the Big Boss Man kidnaps Pepe, kills Pepe, cooks Pepe, makes Pepe into dinner, and makes Al Snow eat his own dog. I mean, I think granted South Park made it even more outrageous later on when they had Cartman get Scott Tenorman's parents killed, cooked into chili, and have Scott Tenorman eat his parents. But at least in South Park, you kind of expect weird shit like that. In wrestling, not so much. And then this, of course, that the Kettle from Hell match, Unforgiven 1999, which I've still got nightmares about. It's still traumatising me to this day. And then number 3. Big Boss Man making fun of the Big Show's dad for having cancer and dying. Oh, this was just so offensive. I mean, this is one of the worst storylines that he's ever done. I was tempted to put the funeral bit on the list, but it's one of those weird ones. It was completely fucking offensive. But the Big Boss Man's performance in that Big Show's dad funeral was so over the top. It was one of those ones where I don't want to laugh, but the performance is so over the top that I can't help myself. It was definitely played for laughs, but there was one segment in particular. I think the Big Show's dad had, this Big Show's dad had actually died like years later, about 4 or 5 years before this. So in the storyline, Big Show's dad died of cancer. And then Big Boss Man did this really offensive porn. It's just, bad shit. Number 2, and surprise it's not number 1, but it's number 2. Mae Young gives birth to a hand in 2000. So there you go. Even in the much loved year of 2000, there was a truly awful moment, and this was it. So, to recap. Obviously, you know, Mae Young is about a 77-year-old woman, wrestled years and years ago, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And the fabulous Moolah randomly made cameos in WWF in 1999. Moolah was even the women's champion for a bit, and then Mae Young showed a knack for entertaining. She really did. I mean, obvious to me that Mae Young had a knack for entertaining, so Mae Young got to be a regular character on WWE TV. Now, Mark Henry, of course, is sexual chocolate. Mark Henry's a big stud, you see. He likes his women. He got a lot of pussy as sexual chocolate. Apparently, Mark Henry fancies something a bit more mature. Actually, not a bit more mature. About 50 years more mature. So it emerged that Mark Henry was shagging Mae Young. I mean, I know that's fine. That's obviously it's stupid, but it's kind of funny and entertaining that the man in his late 20s like Mark Henry was shagging a 77-year-old woman and Mae Young. But it gets worse. Mae Young winds up pregnant, which you're thinking, medical science here? Don't women usually go in the menopause in the mid-50s and can't have babies anymore? So ignore that logic right there. That the fact Mae Young should have stopped being capable of having babies about 25 years earlier. She was pregnant somehow. Mark Henry had somehow knocked Mae Young up. Obviously, so you're in a pregnancy lasts about 9 months, right? Well, not this pregnancy. Mae Young went to labour. About 2 months later. I think some of the attacks she got from the Dudleys might have brought us on. I can't remember. So Mae Young is giving birth. Mae Young does not give birth to a baby though, as you might expect she would. Mae Young gives birth to a hand. You heard that right? No, an actual hand. Not a baby with hands. A hand. Just a hand. Yeah. This was like, come on. I know as a wrestling fan we have to swallow some stupid shit sometimes, but come on, that's just plain fucking ridiculous, isn't it, really? You give birth to a fucking hand, for fuck's sake. What more can I say about it? It was just infamously bad. So, if that's not number 1, what is number 1? It's got to be January 1999, Terry Runnels fakes a miscarriage. Oh, God. So, Terry Runnels was pregnant, then she was getting in a confrontation with D'Lo. She fell off the ring apron and made out that she'd lost a baby, which is just so offensive. I mean, that's the thing, like, as awesome as the Attitude Era was, and then as much as people rag on WWE for being PG, at least we don't get shit like this anymore. That's all I'll say to that. So that's the one advantage of WWE being PG now. We don't get offensive shit like this anymore. Just so offensive. I mean, how many women have lost babies? A lot. And how many men watching the show may have had a wife or a girlfriend or anything like that who's recently lost a baby? Loads. Most likely loads. So it's just, there was no reason to do that, really. It was just bad. It was just really an offensive storyline. And it's so offensive, in fact, that Jim Cornette was so offended by the storyline that Ed Ferrara, who written the storyline, next time Jim Cornette saw him, this was maybe 2 years later, Jim Cornette spat in Ed Ferrara's face because of that, because he was that offended by it. But yeah, it was just so bad. There we go. Force and Jesse Ventura refereeing both SummerSlams 1988 and 1999. Wow, yeah, that was interesting. I mean, for the first SummerSlam, I don't think Jesse was needed to be the referee for that match, to be honest with you. I think Jesse was just an added bonus. I mean, obviously you had Mega Powers versus Mega Bucks, Hogan and Macho Man versus Andre and DiBiase, Elizabeth as manager and Bobby Heenan as the manager, so I think that was enough. Jesse wasn't needed really, he didn't really add a whole lot to that one. So that was one that was cool, but whatever. But doing it in 1999 was a big deal. I mean, and it was quite shocking as well, because at the time it was thought Vince would never work with Jesse again, no way. I mean, if you remember, 1994, Jesse Ventura successfully sued the WWF for unpaid royalties, got like $850,000 from Vince, and Vince was pissed about that. Vince was seriously pissed about that. I mean, recall just telling sorry how Vince was looking and going, "That's my fucking money. That's my fucking money." Jesse was like, "Well, the court says it's mine now." So obviously since then, because of that lawsuit, Jesse gets regular royalties from the WWE even today. So Jesse kind of calls that his retirement. So Jesse actually gets benefits over this, of course. And obviously Jesse and Vince had been at odds at various times over the years. I think mainly down to Jesse's Hollywood aspirations in the 80s. I feel like Vince likes to be a dictator. Vince wasn't pleased about Jesse rubbing shoulders with Arnold Schwarzenegger and people like that in Hollywood, in Predator and shit. Jesse called, and I think he'd left it around like 1990 under bad terms. So you figured no way Jesse ever comes back. However, there was a big opportunity, because in 1998 Jesse Ventura becomes governor of Minnesota. I mean, that was a big deal actually. I mean, and it was sure that Jesse Ventura was probably one of wrestling's big success stories outside the business, because a lot of wrestlers like leave the business and do shit, but Jesse went into politics and was actually really successful at it. Did a really good job there. Then 1999 comes around, the WWF got SummerSlam in Minneapolis, in Jesse's hometown. So obviously now Jesse's something of a celebrity now. Now he's governor of Minnesota. Probably as big a star as he was in his wrestling days. So Jesse comes back to the WWF in 1999 to referee the main event. That was a big deal at the time, let me tell you. That was big stuff at the time. I mean, it had been nearly a decade since Jesse had last been on WWF television. So it was really, really cool. And I get the feel that was probably one of the biggest selling points of SummerSlam, drawing a huge buy rate and all that, and all the publicity WWE got from having Jesse Ventura there was just great stuff, really was. And thought of the mass transit incident. This is a bad one. So set the stories, ECW 1996. There was supposed to be a match of the the Gangsters, but staff for a New Jack against Devon Dudley and Axel Rotten. And I think there was it was like weather problems, travel issues, that Axel couldn't make the show. So at the last minute, there was a local guy there named Eric Koulis, I think his name was, and told me he was an independent wrestler and all that, and stepped in at the last minute, and foolishly Paul Heyman went along with it, which obviously turned out to be a big mistake, because Koulis wasn't what he seemed. I don't think he'd even had a match before. He was but more importantly, he was not 20 as he'd claimed. I mean, apparently, according to Heyman, he had false documents and all that, which may or may not be true. Heyman might just be saving face there, but he was in fact 17, which meant he was underage. He was a big fat guy. He was called Mass Transit, and then he was in there with New Jack and Mustafa. Now, and probably the biggest mistake of his life, he was talking to New Jack about all these spots he wanted to do, and don't annoy New Jack. I mean, come on, kid, that's one thing you should learn. Don't deliberately annoy New Jack. And then he said, asked him the question that probably ruined his life. He told New Jack he hadn't got colour before. Colour means getting blood, but he didn't know how to do it. So he asked New Jack to cut him. One thing you should know, you do not, under any circumstances, ask a nutter like New Jack to cut you. That's not going to go well, is it? So New Jack said he cut him. Only problem was New Jack went a bit too far in the match. He cut him way, way deeper than he should have. I mean, and oh god, I've watched it as well, and it's quite disturbing to watch just how much the kid bleeds. The kid's terrified, and obviously getting in the ring with New Jack's going to be no picnic. I mean, at the best of times you're going to have a rough day, but on this occasion New Jack went too far, really beat the shit out of the kid, which, obviously I'm not going to fucking talk more about what I think piece of shit I think New Jack is. I think it's well known what a dick New Jack was and is. So New Jack obviously completely in the wrong for this. I mean, he completely took advantage of the kid, beat the shit out of him, and then obviously, given that he was 17 and all that, obviously those massive lawsuits, ECW got over that. As a matter of fact, Paul Heyman claims that because of this incident and the bad publicity because of it, the barely legal pay-per-view was briefly cancelled, because obviously the pay-per-view companies were a bit weary of ECW at first. Now they got this, so that was all the ammunition they needed just to pull the plug on the pay-per-view deal, and it was the ECW fans begging and pleading to get it back on the air. So really horrible situation, like, honestly, like, fucking hell. Yeah, obviously the kid, like, Paul Heyman's got to take a lot of the blame, because he should have been sure that this kid was not 17, I mean. So Paul Heyman's gullible for believing him. And did he give him fake documents? Maybe, but so there was a duty of care that Paul Heyman didn't deliver on. So Paul Heyman's got to be responsible for some of this. And yeah, just bad. New Jack, piece of shit for doing this. And obviously the kid was way over his head. I mean, I don't blame him for trying to be enthusiastic and get on the show, but come on. He really should have just shut his mouth and did his job. So it was just bad situation. And then last question is top 10 or 5 not enough title changes to happen to the free TV that you felt should have been on pay-per-view instead. Well, I've only gone with 5 really that I could think of off the top of my head. Number 5, the Usos in 2014. They were March 3rd, 2014 instead of and they should have happened at WrestleMania 30 instead. I feel like New Age Outlaws could have kept the tag belts to WrestleMania 30, dropped it to the Usos then. Number 3, this is not TV as such. Well, it's not TV actually, but this should have happened on pay-per-view. Remember when Marty Jannetty beat Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title, and then about a month later Shawn Michaels won it back in a house show. But for me, they easily should have done this at King of the Ring 1993. I mean, Shawn Michaels and Crush wasn't a particularly exciting feud at all, to be honest with you. It was okay, but I feel like they had Jannetty hold the title of the King of the Ring. Shawn Michaels could win that back there, and then obviously they could do the blow off of the July 1993 like they did. I just feel like I would have been better. Now, 3 world title matches. Now, one is kind of cheating, but let me explain. So, John Cena over Rey Mysterio, July 2011 now. This obviously necessitates a big change in the Punk storyline, so for me, I would not have had CM Punk come back when he did, obviously, because obviously that was absolutely ridiculous that he came back like 8 days after Money in the Bank. So what I would have done is had Rey Mysterio win the WWE title over The Miz like scheduled, but then kept the title on him till SummerSlam, where have Cena versus Rey as main event of SummerSlam 2011. Then Cena could have beat Mysterio there, because I just feel like that was bad all around, really. Giving Mysterio a 2-hour title win was like insulting, and it didn't actually make Cena look any good, beating someone who had already wrestled the night earlier in the night. So, and then obviously the top 2 are from the same era but different companies. Now, number 2 is Triple H's WWE title win on Raw night after SummerSlam 1999. Obvious reasons, it should have happened at SummerSlam, shouldn't it, really? I mean, yeah, it was cool Triple H won the title, but I think win the title from Austin at SummerSlam would have been so much bigger and so much better. But of course there was political reasons for all that not happening, which I don't need to get into now. Then I'm sure you know what the number 1 is. I mean, there's no other option really, is there? And number 1 has to be Goldberg beating Hollywood Hogan, July 6, 1998 edition of Nitro. That had to be. To this day, one of the main tables one of WCW's biggest mistakes. Definitely should have been Goldberg and Hogan on a major pay-per-view after months and months of building hype, where Goldberg should have beat Hogan to take the world title there. obviously I feel like, yeah, they drew a big rating, and yeah, it was awesome that they sold out the Georgia Dome, but they really did it for the purpose of beating Raw on the ratings, but they threw so much money away by doing it like that. I mean, I don't think you need me to tell you that it should have been Goldberg and Hogan after months and months of hype on a pay-per-view, do you really? Oof, we're getting long into this. Let's continue. We've got Cody Bibby. Yeah, Cody Bibby. One question, who's your favourite wrestler? Well, I'll give you two answers, like three answers kind of. One now and one of all time, and then one non-WWE. So WWE right now, obviously he's not wrestling at the moment, but Samoa Joe, big fan of Samoa Joe. Of all time, I've said this a million times before, so I won't go into detail again, but favourite wrestler of all time, of course, is Bret the Hitman Hart. And favourite non-WWE wrestler has to be Kazuchika Okada. I mean, yeah, obviously some of his booking I don't like. I mean, was not happy that he beat Naito at Wrestle Kingdom, but guy's the best in the world. He is. He really, I'm sorry, but he really is. How many amazing title matches is Okada going to have? He is the best wrestler on the planet right now. I like him more than Kenny Omega, more than Tanahashi, Ishii, etc. So there you go. Then we got Waluigi deserves his own game. What is the worst match of all time for you? Oh, that I've seen. I mean, you might have saw the review a few weeks ago, but the main event for Uncensored 1996, especially as far as mainstream wrestling and all that, pay-per-view, the worst match. Oh God. That fucking Doomsday cage match, Hogan and Savage versus the Alliance to End Hulkamania. That was... What the fuck was that? That was fucking shit. Bear in mind, I've not seen Heroes of Wrestling. I don't want to see it. So there's probably worse matches on there. I mean, there's probably worse matches on random indie shows with inexperienced talent. So, but as far as big pay-per-view matches, why? God, that was just... What the fuck was that? That was probably the stupidest, crappiest match I've ever seen. Then now this is a good one. What are your thoughts on Jeff Jarrett going to the Hall of Fame this year? Wow, this is probably getting more talk than the Dudley Boys going in, more than Goldberg going in. So you've got those guys, Goldberg and the Dudleys going in, but it's either Jeff Jarrett's the one getting the most attention for good reason. I mean, I obviously in wrestling you never say never, but I thought very unlikely Jeff Jarrett will ever go into the WWE Hall of Fame, because of the history of WWE and all that, the way he left. Well, obviously being a promoter at TNA and Global Force for the last 15 years or whatever, you just thought no way is he going in, but he's going in 2018. 2 nights before WrestleMania, it's happening, and now, well, that was shocking, like really shocking. Obviously, I think the only guys I don't think will ever go in now, Chris Benoit, because he can't go in full stop. No ifs, ands, or buts. He can't go in. Just he can't. Then I think Owen Hart's the only one that'll probably never ever go in, because of his wife's problems with WWE and all that. So. But Jeff Jarrett was probably in the top 5 guys I thought would never go into the WWE Hall of Fame. I think the other one, China, but I think China might eventually go in when they run out of women. They decide enough ties pass after a death to just shut the fans up and let her in type thing. But the big question is Jeff Jarrett worthy of the Hall of Fame? Yeah, I mean, he's more deserving than a lot of guys that are in there. I mean, that's the thing, you can't take this WWE Hall of Fame too seriously. Because, one, it's not a legitimate Hall of Fame. I mean, like, there's no building or no physical Hall of Fame. And obviously, I'm not shitting on wrestling because I love wrestling, but it's not a real sport. So, like, in real sport Hall of Fames, I think there's, like, a big vote. And obviously, there's a set criteria of, like, how well you've had to do in your career to get in. Where the WWE Hall of Fame, obviously wrestling being a predetermined work and all that, it's all subjective. I mean, it's all subjective, isn't it? It's all about personal taste and all that. And the WWE Hall of Fame, what's the criteria? What is the criteria to be WWE Hall of Fame at? It's basically, if Vince decides to put you in, it's more than anything. I mean, Coco Beware's in the Hall of Fame. Fucking Vince Senior's a limo driver. James Dudley's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Drew Carey's in the Hall of Fame. Trying to think of some other bad ones, really. The Godfather's in the Hall of Fame. So people like that. Is those Jeff Jarrett less worthy than them? No. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think it's a least worthy inductee this year. I would argue that Jeff Jarrett's a far more deserving Hall of Famer than Ivory. I mean, and I've said some bad things about Jeff Jarrett in the past. I have. I've a lot of criticism of Jeff Jarrett. My criticism is basically that he's not a main event level performer. I mean, always said that Jeff Jarrett was not a main event guy, and I stick by that opinion. Stick by that for sure. But was he a good mid-carder? Yeah. I mean, Double J was a pretty good mid-card heel in the mid-90s, New Generation era. He was a good Intercontinental champion. He was a good mid-carder in the Attitude era, being tag champions of Owen Hart. More Intercontinental title reigns in 1999. And then, of course, WCW, his first run, he was US champion there. Then his last run, although I think it was bullshit that he was a 4-time WCW champion. Obviously, I feel like WWE just going to ignore all of his TNA past and all that, so pretty sure this Hall of Fame's basically around his WWF and WCW careers, and on the basis of that, yeah, fine. Jeff Jarrett, Hall of Fame, why the hell not? I mean, yeah, for those reasons I've said more than anything. What have we got? What's your favourite female wrestler? Like the early one, I'll give you 2 answers. One current and one of all time. So currently it's got to be Asuka. I mean, big fan of her work. Loved her NXT run. Just the dominance, the intimidation, the style that she's got and all that. I mean, she's awesome at what she does. And to WWE's credit, they haven't fucked it up yet. Which I feel like was everyone's big fear about Asuka, wasn't it? She'd go to the main roster and they'd fuck her up. They haven't fucked her up. She won the Royal Rumble. She's probably going to win either one of the women's titles at WrestleMania. And let's see, just what I would do anyway. Keep Asuka undefeated, have Ronda Rousey beat her at SummerSlam. And then of all time, got to be Trish Stratus. I mean, awesome. Great all-round package, good wrestler, good promo, great character. The looks, she was the greatest women's champion of all time and my favourite women's wrestler ever, Trish Stratus. Then, what's your favourite title design, if any? I do have a favourite one. And it is, of course, the classic WWF Winged Eagle Championship from 1988 and 1998. I'm sure you know the one that you'll know what I'm talking about. The one that Hogan wore, the one that Macho Man wore, the one that the Ultimate Warrior wore, the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. I just love that design. It looks so fucking cool. And I've always been half tempted to buy a replica belt. I mean, probably they're like 350 quid, so it's a lot of money, but I've always been tempted. I've always been, could I? From time to time I get tempted. I think, should I buy a replica belt? I mean, is it alright for a grown man to own a wrestling belt? Just put that out there. Or would I look like a complete nerd having a replica wrestling belt in my house? That's coming from the same guy who has a near complete WWF Hasbro collection, but that's whatever. Then last one for you, what's your favourite WWE video game? Right, big one for me. So as I've explained before in other videos, I never owned an N64 as a kid, so I missed out on all the THQ Aki games, so WWF WrestleMania 2000, WWF No Mercy. Never played them as a kid, so missed out on them. So I had Super Nintendo, then a PS1, and then a PS2 as grown up. So for that, so I was really had our Warzone attitude. Then the SmackDown games were my big ones growing up. And my favourite video game of all time is SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Just amazing game. I mean, still holds up 15 years later. Classic game. Because obviously the big switch happened in there, Shut Your Mouth in 2002. They totally revamped the game with all the controls and animations and all that shit. And Shut Your Mouth was a huge improvement of Know Your Role. Was it Know Your Role? No, Just Bring It, excuse me. because obviously they went from PS1 to PS2 in 2001. But the thingy was Just Bring It was a lot like the PS1 version, so they revamped the game for the superior, more powerful PS2 machine. And it was an awesome game at the time. But SmackDown Here Comes the Pain took all the improvements that SYM made and then just added to them, made them so much better. I mean, there's so much to like about this game. I think the gameplay is awesome. Just a very fast paced. Just a whole lot of fun. Easy to control. No stupid button combinations, nothing like that. It was just a nice, simple game to play, which is what I like in a video game, because I don't like to be frustrated playing a video game. Obviously challenging, yeah, but I don't want to get to the point, because obviously I feel like if I played Warzone and Attitude the first time now, I would have absolutely hated it, because you pretty much had to do a fucking loads of combinations. You just do the most basic moves, like a fucking arm drag or a fucking arm bar or something, where here we got. Well, I love you. You had 4 type of grapples, like, so there's a nice variety of moves that every wrestler can do. Graphics for the time are excellent. I mean, obviously, like, you play it now, it's not that impressive because computer game graphics have just blown up so much over the last few years, especially with the Xbox One and the PS4. Holy fuck! Just amazing what computer graphics has done now. But for the time, they look great. The roster was incredible at the time. Because it was a great time of business where generations overlapped. So in this game, you've got obviously your big hitters like Kurt Angle, Triple H, The Undertaker, all of these American Badass then. Shawn Michaels was there. Then you had guys like Brock Lesnar was in the game. Obviously, Brock was only in 2 SmackDown games, this one in SYM, then he left and wasn't in another game or whatever games that unlockable character was a 2K? The WWE 12 maybe, I can't remember. Goldberg is a WWE superstar, was in this game. Obviously he wasn't in a video game for another 10 years. WCW guy Kevin Nash was in this game, Scott Steiner was in this game, Ric Flair was in this game, Stone Cold was in the game, Hollywood Rock was in the game, which I'm 99% sure this is the only appearance of Hollywood Rock in a video game with that music and that character and all that shit. And then you had people like Edge, Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. Then you had future legends who were young in the crease. You had young John Cena, you had a young Randy Orton, you had a young Batista in this game. Then random characters like Ultimo Dragon was in this game. How cool is that? That was so cool that Ultimo Dragon made this game. Matt Hardy version 1 in this game. The Hurricane in this game. But the winner for the most obscure character in this game has to go to Rodney Mack. Yes, Rodney Mack made a WWE video game appearance. And obviously, like, I'm sure you kids take this for granted now because you have a ton of legends in the game. But this was the first SmackDown game to feature unlockable legends. I mean, obviously now you get like 30, 40 legends in any WWE game, which is just awesome. But back then, we had, let's see if I can remember them all. You had Purple Glove Undertaker, though like Dark Side Undertaker, Legion of Doom were in this game, Roddy Piper, Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, George Animal Steel, and Hillbilly Jim. I think I've remembered everyone. So I think Slaughter as well, maybe. So that was awesome. Then obviously all these match types. This was the first game to have the Elimination Chamber in it. I mean, obviously other match types are greatly improved. I mean, TLC, you could finally do so much things with it. I mean, when you first had ladder matches in SmackDown 2, you basically hit people with a ladder, climb ladder, and that was it. I mean, on this one, you can do moves on the ladder, put it upside down in the corner. I mean, obviously stuff you take for granted now, but it was big stuff when it was new. Hell in a Cell was all around the ring for the first time. You could do loads of different stuff there. A lot of new weapon animations and stuff like that. I mean, the backstage areas were amazing. I mean, some of the stuff you could do, you could, like, honest to God, you could fight outside, get on a train, go to WWE New York, fighting there, or you could You could go in the parking lot, drive forklifts and stuff, climb the production truck and like dive off the production truck and stuff like that. Really awesome stuff. Oh, the best one though, Carol, you're outside somewhere and there's a helicopter. I'm not even joking. You can like get on the ladder of the helicopter and then dive off a helicopter on someone. It was fucking awesome. Just some of the creative stuff you could do was just amazing. I think this was the first SmackDown to feature blood as well, which again a big deal at the time. People didn't. Then obviously, this was the era of great arenas, so you had some awesome arenas such as Survivor Series 2002, Armageddon 2002, WrestleMania 19. Obviously, this one had the SmackDown Giant Fist one, so awesome game. Holds up tremendously over the last 15 years. I mean, you kids can have your fucking WWE 2K18. I'll take Here Comes the Pain any day of the week. Alright, next set of questions from Alexander Felton. Since the exploitation of the Edge, Matt and Lita situation helped propel Edge's career as a main eventer, where do you think Edge's career would have been if this issue never happened? I feel like he probably would have been more or less the same. I feel like they were grooming him to be a main event guy anyway at that point. I mean, if you remember, turned heel in late 2004, was pushing the top of the card, not quite there yet, but then we'd feuding with Shawn Michaels in the late 2004, early 2005. Part of that Elimination Chamber match in New Year's Revolution. He had a great show at the 2005 Royal Rumble. Then, of course, I think he even had a world title match with Triple H in Japan. That shows me that they were at least intent on making Edge a future main event star. Obviously, like either late February or early March, this whole Matt Hardy situation came out. And all I think I did that was just like the extra ingredient on the top, the extra ingredient that made Edge a much bigger star. I mean, obviously the heat he got from that was incredible. He was the most hated man in wrestling for a while because of that. And I think it's just weird how a real life situation like that, better than anything you could write on television anyway, made Edge a bigger star. But even if you look at that Money in the Bank, he was probably going to win that anyway, because if you look at it, who else was a better choice? I mean, you could have said maybe a veteran like Benoit Jericho could have took it. Maybe they could have capitalised on Christian's popularity and had him take it. But I think even going into Money in the Bank, Edge was the clear favourite to win that. Then obviously, once he won it, you're thinking the first Money in the Bank would have been pretty stupid if they had the first Money in the Bank winner fail his cash in. So, but obviously with that, he was probably going to be the WWE champion anyway. Maybe he wouldn't be quite as over as a heel as he was, but I feel like he was on the right track anyway. Would you agree the Stone Cold turning heel at WrestleMania 17 was the beginning and the end of him? Yep, I would agree with that. I mean, that's a pretty accurate statement. I mean, I don't want to go into big detail about how Austin's heel turn was a failure and all that. I've done that many times before. Many other people have said that. That's all out there, isn't it, really? But obviously, I feel like when he turned back babyface in late 2001, early 2002, it just wasn't quite the same, was it? I mean, yeah, he was still popular, like very, very popular still, but it wasn't quite the same as it was before, was it, to be honest? And obviously that combined with his injuries he was suffering from, his creative differences with the WWE, general burnout and personal problems in his life. That led to him walking out in 2002. He briefly came back in 2003, of course, but then obviously he had to retire. So yeah, 2 years after the heel turn, he was completely done. But yeah, I would definitely agree it was the beginning of the end. Would you agree that WWE pushed the envelope further with Nakamura and they ever did with all members of the Shield? I would not agree with that, actually. No, I wouldn't. Because, yeah, Nakamura won the Royal Rumble. And yeah, Nakamura's going to WrestleMania to face AJ, but you must be forgetting about the first 9-10 months of his main roster run was pretty mediocre, wasn't it, really? I mean, let's look at, so up until the Royal Rumble, they pretty much used him badly. I mean, the feud of Dolph Ziggler was what it was. Then he was arsing about Baron Corbin for a bit, and then less said about that Jinder Mahal feud, the better. I mean, yeah, he was in the WWE title feud, but it was also one of the worst WWE title feuds of all time. And of course, getting sacrificed to Jinder almost buried him, almost, but not quite. And then he was kind of in that little. He was kind of looked like an afterthought in that Survivor Series match. Then he was just kind of there in the Orton, Owens, Shane, Zayn, Bryan storyline for Clash of the Champions. Obviously, it's scored well now, but early on it was pretty bad. But with the look at the Shield's first year, they were presented as dominant throughout, interacting with top guys like CM Punk, The Rock, John Cena, The Undertaker, etc. Getting dominant wins, looking strong. In fact, I would probably compare the Shield more to Braun Strowman's kind of push. I feel like Braun Strowman, not Nakamura, has pretty much been the best push newcomer since the Shield, for me anyway. So I would not agree with that, no. And then we've got Hitman 683. Who do you want as the winner of the Cruiserweight tournament happen right now? Cedric Alexander. It's got to be Cedric Alexander, isn't it? He's clearly the guy right now. He's clearly the one who stands above the rest, head and shoulders. I mean, yeah, there's some talented guys in there, but I feel like Alexander definitely stands out as the best option all around. I mean, he's got youth, he's got good look, he's a great athlete, good in-ring performer. He's at least alright on the mic, so he's good enough, to be honest. I don't think he's fantastic on the microphone or anything like that. Don't think he's one of the best mic guys out there, but he's good enough. Just feels this 205 reboot, he's got to be the guy they got to build around. Build a show around him, make him the guy of this brand. He's the best option. I suppose Roderick Strong could go with him, but I don't think Roderick really needs it, to be honest with you. I feel like he's just boring. He's a great wrestler, but he's a boring personality, and of course he's older. He's had a lot of years behind him, so... Then I'm looking at the final, looking at the brackets. It's probably going to be Cedric versus either Drew Gulak or Buddy Murphy for the WrestleMania. Let's be honest, this match is going to happen on the WrestleMania pre-show, isn't it? It just is. But yeah, I'll go for Cedric Alexander, definitely. Then what show do you recommend to someone like me who's never watched a New Japan show? If I had to recommend one show and one show only, I would definitely say Wrestle Kingdom 10 would be the show to do. Feel like for me, that's the best show New Japan's I've ever seen on New Japan anyway. They're slightly better than Wrestle Kingdom 12 this year. One big reason I would say, if you're a WWE fan, you can see AJ Nakamura's first match from on that show. Especially if you want to get excited for AJ Nakamura at WrestleMania this year, I would definitely recommend tracking down the first match you had at Wrestle Kingdom in 2016. But then, of course, of that, you got the epic main event of Okada versus Tanahashi, with the great story of Okada finally supplanting Tanahashi as the ace of New Japan. That was a big deal. But then also you've got the war between Ishii and Shibata for the Never Openweight title. That was brutal. Then you get a glimpse of Kenny Omega before he became a heavyweight, facing Kushida for the junior heavyweight title. What else was on this show? Was it one of Gallows and Anderson's last matches in New Japan against, I'm pretty sure it was Honma and Makabe, I think. I'm pretty sure that's right. It was either that or Wrestle Kingdom 9 that match happened. A good opener for the junior title with Young Bucks versus Roppongi 3K versus Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and another team. But I can't remember what the other team was off the top of my head. Sorry, that's gone. I can't remember what the other team was. But yeah, I'll say Wrestle Kingdom 10, then you've got it. What matches from 94 and 95 Raw can you recommend? So, obviously you've probably seen this one before. Oh, sorry. Oh, good. Right. You've probably seen this one before, but I'll recommend it anyway. Obviously, the one match, if you have to watch one match and one match only, would definitely be Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid from July 11th, 1994. That is a genuine Raw classic, one of the best matches of this era. By the way, Shawn Moulton's best ever match. One of Bret's best matches, for that matter. But if I can recommend some others, I would say... And I'm not sure all on the exact dates, but Randy Savage versus Yokozuna for the WWF title in either late February or early March, right before WrestleMania 10. this was Yokozuna's best ever match. Just an entertaining as fuck match and a great performance from Savage as well. Really liked that match a lot. Razor Ramon and 1-2-3 Kid versus the Quebecers from early February for the tag titles. That was a nice little gem of a match. Owen Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid from August of 1994, couple of months after the really good King of the Ring match. August 1, 1994, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels. I mean, sure, you've seen the two ladder matches these guys had at WrestleMania 10 and SummerSlam 95, but this is a straight up wrestling match that the two had on an edition of Raw. This is definitely a match worth checking out now. 1995, bad year, but there are a few gems. Night after the Royal Rumble 1995, Bob Holly and the 1-2-3 Kid versus Smoking Guns for the WWE Tag Team titles. That's a well worth watching match. Definitely check that one out if you haven't seen it. The night early March, British Bulldog versus Shawn Michaels. That was a really good match. The go home show, WrestleMania 11, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, no holds barred match. This match had happened at WrestleMania 11, but that's another issue. But this was a great match, an awesome Raw match. Then the night after WrestleMania 11, Bull Nakano versus Alundra Blaze for their women's title. That's a well worth watching match. Late July, Bret Hart versus Hakushi, the In Your House 1 rematch. That's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it for sure. We've got awesome. Well, not an awesome tag match, but a cool tag match. From I think it was it had to be October of '95. I'm sure it was. Yokozuna, Owen Hart, British Bulldog versus something of a dream team in Diesel, Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels. I mean, that's just a cool match to watch, especially considering Shawn Michaels and Undertaker on the same team. That's a really cool thing to see. I really enjoyed that one. Then I guess the night after Survivor Series 1995, Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels. The match where Shawn Michaels collapsed and everything to set up WrestleMania 12, the Boyhood Dream and all that. So definitely those ones. There we go. Stephen Taylor was Raw 25, the most disappointing Raw of all time. Yep, I think it was. I think it absolutely was actually. Because there are mostly other anniversary special type of Raws usually delivered. Like most of the draft Raws usually delivered. Raw 15th anniversary was really good. Raw 1000 was excellent, and who knows, maybe I'll review that one time. Then we had what's it called? Not an anniversary as such, but if you remember when Raw went back to the USA Network in 2005, Raw Homecoming, that was a really good episode of Raw, but this one, oh fuck it, Raw 25 sucked. What a terrible episode of Raw. It had so much promise behind it, the coolness of going back to the Manhattan Center, probably all this stuff that could have been great, but it was just a bad Raw. And obviously the Manhattan crowd got fucked in the arse, like big time. I mean, if I was at that Manhattan crowd, I would have been seriously pissed at what I had to see. Obviously, even some of the comeback segments weren't that great. The best segment was the Austin, Vince and Shane opening segment, which tells you a lot. Reigns and Miz had a decent match, but not a fantastic match. Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy had not a terrible match, but a pretty mediocre match in Manhattan. The DX revival stuff is alright, I suppose, but we've seen it all before. The Undertaker promo was pretty. I have to be honest, that was a bad promo from The Undertaker. I'm not sure if it was scripted for him like that, but it was a bad promo nonetheless. Really did not like that one at all. So overall, I would absolutely say it was. Let's say Sting and The Undertaker wrestled at WrestleMania 27 like it should have. Yep. Would you be cool, Undertaker tapping out the Scorpion Deathlock? No, not really. I feel that would have been stupid. I feel like giving the streak to someone older than The Undertaker, like Sting, would have been a terrible idea, to be honest with you. Especially when, would Sting have even wrestled again for the WWE after that? That's the thing. And obviously, build a streak for like 20 years and a WCW guy from 10 years prior comes in and someone, like you say, someone older than The Undertaker who's probably going to wrestle less than him, beats him for the streak. I think I'd hate that, to be honest. I think that'd be terrible. I absolutely would not be cool with that at all, to be honest. And what have we got? How much more angry do you think the people would have been if Brock Lesnar conquering the Undertaker's streak? Undertaker tapped out of the Kimura lock. I think it'd be about the same, to be honest with you. I don't really think it'd be that much different, to be fair. I mean, yeah, I think Brock Lesnar ending the streak, whether it was by tap out or pinfall or whatever, I think the reaction would have been more or less the same, to be honest with you. So I think in that regard, I don't think it really makes a big difference whether Brock Lesnar pinned the Undertaker or tapped him out. I think the reaction would be pretty much the same. Then we got, do you wish the 1-2-3 Kid made a surprise entry to the Royal Rumble this year? Yeah, I guess. I mean, would have been cool, I suppose, but I wouldn't say I wished it would happen. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool if it happened, but it's not like, I'm not that bothered if it doesn't happen, to be honest with you. It'd be nice, I suppose, more than anything, but far from essential or out like that. What have we got? Your biggest Heart Foundation tag team dream match. So I'm guessing, obviously you mean the Bret and Neidhart version of the Heart Foundation, not the Faction 1997 Heart Foundation. For me, if I had to pick one, it will have to be the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott. That'd be fucking awesome, wouldn't it? So I guess the best time of this match happened to be 1990, because 89, the Steiners had just started out, and then obviously in 91 the Heart Foundation stopped teaming up after WrestleMania 7. So 90 was really the only real year that both teams were active at the same time. I feel like the Heart Foundation were the WWF Tag Team Champions. Can't remember if the Steiners were WCW Tag Team Champions in 90 or not. I think they were, but I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember. They were, at the very least, they were US Tag Team Champions, I remember that. But yeah, I think it'd be a great match. Obviously, you got the power of the Anvil, so he could match up like power-wise to Scott and Rick. So then obviously Bret Hart's wrestling ability would match up extremely well with someone like Scott Steiner at the time. That would have been awesome, actually. Wouldn't it have been as good as the Bret and Owen versus the Steiner match in 1994, but it would have been cool as out nonetheless. And then what have we got? What do we have? Oh, Diesel 101 Raw now. Would Brock Lesnar versus The Rock at WrestleMania 29 outsell Rock Wrestling at WrestleMania 28? I don't think so. To be honest with you. One, the factor I feel like obviously WrestleMania 28 was The Rock's first singles match back, and I feel like that was part of the novelty, because in most cases the first comeback always has the most impact. And like once you've seen it once, it's not as special the next time. So I think that was part of it being special, The Rock coming back in singles action for the first time. So then obviously Rock Cena was the match. I mean, you can hate Cena if you want, but Rock versus Cena was the match that people were talking about, the match people wanted to see. I honestly do believe that, because I remember like everyone going back to like when Cena became a big star, and then I started talking shit about The Rock in public and all that. Everyone was talking about Rock versus Cena then. So I feel like Brock versus Rock would have been huge, but I don't see it outselling Cena versus Rock WrestleMania 28. Rock and Lesnar probably would have done north of 1 million buys, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think it probably would have outdrew Rock versus Cena 2 from WrestleMania that year, but I don't think it would have been as good as Rock Cena at WrestleMania 28. Let's say Shawn Michaels didn't retire at WrestleMania 26. Could he have pulled off only coming back to wrestle once a year at WrestleMania? Oh, of course he would. I mean, Shawn fucking Michaels, of course he would. I feel like Shawn Michaels didn't retire because he physically couldn't do it anymore. I mean, yeah, he had nagging injuries and stuff like that, but they weren't serious enough to where he had to retire. Main reason he retired because he wanted to go out on top and spend the rest of his time with his family and stuff. But hell, so say like Shawn Michaels, yeah, I think Shawn Michaels, if he did that and he came back every year at WrestleMania, it would have been great. He could have easily, hell, Shawn Michaels to come back this year at WrestleMania. Honestly, I truly believe this. Shawn Michaels to come back this year at WrestleMania and outperform 90% of the roster, even in his 50s. I mean, he's Shawn Michaels, he's that special. So yeah, say he went for like 4, 5, 6 WrestleManias in a row just doing that. I feel like he could absolutely pull it off. I mean, you could do maybe Shawn and Punk at WrestleMania 27. Shawn and Bryan at WrestleMania 28. Then you could do him and The Rock at WrestleMania 29, and maybe I'll go on. Maybe I'm like one day I'll come up with who I would have Shawn face all these WrestleManias. But feel like not only would Shawn Michaels come back and do well, more likely than not, Shawn Michaels would have come back and had the best match at all these WrestleManias as well. I do believe that as well. But I feel like three essential matches would have been a one with Punk, a one with Bryan at some point, and the dream match with The Rock. So yeah, if CM Punk said he's only going to have one more match and that's it, who would you want that one last wrestler to be? Anyone in the world, so not just a WWE. Okay, so since you put that on me, that I can only say one more match and that's it, just one. It would not be a WWE guy actually. So I would say the guy I would pick for CM Punk to have one match with would be Kenny Omega. That's right. So CM Punk came back, but he only wanted one more match, and he showed up at a New Japan show and challenged Kenny Omega one-on-one, say at the Tokyo Dome next year or something. Fuck, make it. Imagine the internet there, how much that would blow up. That would be huge. I feel like everyone would be talking about that match. I mean, let's be like, obviously Omega and Jericho had a classic in the Tokyo Dome this year. I feel like Punk and Omega would at least equal that, if not be better than that. 5-star match, quite possibly. So if it was up to me, I'd probably go with Kenny Omega. Then we got, let's say if the first time in wrestling game history they have a War Games match, would you play 2K just to do that match? Maybe. I'd be tempted, put it that way, I'd definitely be tempted. So say like, but with a but, the only way I'd be really tempted if I had two options, one to do with the last WWE War Games match with 3 versus 3 versus 3 without the roof, the one at NXT TakeOver War Games, or do classic War Games, be it like 4 versus 4, make an old WCW arena for it, like I don't know, maybe one of the old Fall Brawls, maybe the original Great American Bash, or Wrestle War 91 or 92. So I think the only thing that would tempt me if I had the option of doing both current War Games and classic War Games, I think that's probably like the next match type, because obviously WWE games, pretty much every match type you could think of is being done, hasn't it? Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell. They even had Buried Alive matches in some of the previous game. In the old games, before the TV14, in the TV14, you had bra and panties matches. You could do it all. So I think like War Games would be the last great match a WWE game could pull off. So if I'm 2K, I'm definitely looking into this and making this a feature. Then we got, rumour has it Undertaker was not interested in wrestling Sting at WrestleMania 31. Do you believe this rumour? I've heard that, yeah, I've heard that rumour recently. Oh, someone said it, but I cannot for the life of me remember who said it. But yeah, apparently, according to the rumour innuendo, Undertaker didn't want to wrestle Sting, but I think it's probably not true. But the only thing that makes me think it might be true is maybe the Undertaker thought at his age and his injury record and all that, he thought wrestling someone older than him, he didn't really want to do it because he thought the match might suck and disappoint the fans, or something like that. So that's really the only real logical reason I can think behind him not wanting to do it. But obviously, I think Undertaker's a smart man. He knows the money, how much money would be in the Undertaker versus Sting if they did that at WrestleMania 31, like they fucking should have done. Sorry, you're getting me carried away there. But yeah, I don't believe that rumour, but I wouldn't say it's definitely false, but if I had to guess, I would say it was false. Then we got Ty Vert Street. If John Cena had the same type of injury that Austin had in 1999 and kept him out for a year, do you think CM Punk would have gotten, or almost gotten, Cena's level in terms of popularity? Because Austin being gone benefited The Rock. He could have done it if the WWE allowed him to be, that's for sure. I mean, it depends. I mean, did CM Punk have the potential to get that level? Absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. I mean, I don't know if you know this or I've ever told you before, but I remember a story in like late 2011 they emerged for a period of time, at least, CM Punk was outdrawn John Cena merchandise wise. Must have been around the time Survivor Series with him. Punk won the WWE title. I remember that story, and it makes me think so. Made me think the fans were willing to embrace someone else at that point. I mean, see, the WWE machine fully got behind CM Punk. I definitely think he could have at least gotten Cena's level of popularity. To be honest, I do actually. But like I say, the key is WWE going for it. The WWE machine truly getting behind CM Punk, like they got behind John Cena, and promoting the shit out of him like that way. So I suppose for this to work, you could say, for your scenario to work, obviously Cena, you can do the Rock match, WrestleMania, then do the Brock Lesnar match at Extreme Rules, and I suppose after that, if you got the injury after that and then took a year off and didn't come back till after WrestleMania 29, that'd be the best time for WWE to go all in on Punk. But although knowing WWE, they probably would have tried to push Ryback as a face of the company or something like that, or Sheamus. I can imagine thinking, going, you little geeks, you think you want that skinny little Punk, you want Ryback. Let's push Ryback to the moon, damn it. Then Ryback didn't get over it like they wanted to. Well, you didn't like Ryback. You think you want that little tattooed loser like CM Punk, but I'm gonna give you Sheamus. Ha 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 ha. Now get a wash, CM Punk, you scruffy little shit. But yeah, so like I said, in all seriousness, Punk had the potential to do that, but it was WWE getting behind him more than anything. Why do you think the IWC turned on Daniel Bryan? Every time I watch a Daniel Bryan related video, there always seems to be more hate on him than praise. Why do you think that is? Oof, well, this is a tough one. Yeah, because I remember this. Because it's just IWC, they turn on everyone. IWC turn on everyone at some point, and I really thought Daniel Bryan would be the guy they didn't, and it kind of sickened me when all the people who loved Daniel Bryan suddenly turned on him, calling him a vanilla midget, saying he was overrated, all he did is flips and kicks. So this is what I think. This is from my perspective, and this is not a shit on these guys because I've got nothing against them really. I've never had a run-in with them. But I think it started with the Smarkbusters and people taking them too seriously. I mean, like I said, I've got nothing against the Smarkbusters. They've got a following and all that. And most of what they do is busting balls and have joking, really. But I think they were the ones that really started calling Daniel Bryan a vanilla midget, saying all he does is flips and kicks and all that. He's got over the S chance over. Like, obviously some of it they're exaggerating, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there that take them seriously. Like, people, like, watch the Smarkbusters and then they listen to what the Smarkbusters says, and that's how they get the opinion. So they're like, yeah, you're right, Daniel Bryan sucks, doesn't he? Vanilla midget, overrated, all he does is flips and kicks. That was the one that got me though, and all the claims of people that Daniel Bryan was overrated in the ring, and all that he did was flips and kicks. That's just not true. There's just no truth to that whatsoever. That's just wrong. It's bullshit. And the other one is Bryan's not over the yes chance over. I mean, come on. Do you really believe that Daniel Bryan wasn't over? And then another big factor I feel like really critical is when Roman Reigns' main event push started, and then the fans got divisive about that. A lot of fans turned on Roman Reigns, so I feel like a lot of butthurt Roman marks blame Daniel Bryan for that. And I'm not going to lie, Daniel Bryan's popularity was a big reason why Roman Reigns didn't get as over as WWE wanted him, or they wanted him to be for that matter. So I feel like at that point, a lot of butthurt Roman marks got all butthurt about it and started spreading it about that Daniel Bryan sucks, he's a vanilla midget and all that. Roman Reigns is awesome. All these Daniel Bryan fans are virgins and losers and all that. You know, I'm sure you've heard it all. Like it's what pisses me off though, when like people rag on Daniel Bryan fans like that, and then, but they're actually what they accuse Daniel Bryan fans of being spades. It just pisses me off. But that's my perspective. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it anyway. There we go. If Triple H comes in charge of WWE, what other changes do you think he will make? So I think Triple H will be in charge of WWE one day. When that is, I don't know. And I think the changes, I mean, you can see with NXT and 205 Live, what he likes to do is build a basic wrestling product, build around good faces and good heels, and Not much complicated storylines, just straightforward wrestling angles, and I feel like that's what most of the fans want to see as well. I feel like the biggest challenge Triple H has for me is recreating this formula on a 3-hour Raw. I mean, not to discount what Triple H has done, but it's much easier to write 1 hour of television and 5 takeovers a year than it is to write 3 hours of Raw every single week, 2 hours of SmackDown, a pay-per-view every couple of weeks, you know. So that's going to be his biggest challenge, I feel like, recreating that formula in the WWE's thing. But I think there'll be less outside projects like the XFL, WWE Studios and all that. I think Triple H will try his best to focus solely on the wrestling side of things. I think that would be a good move. I think if all possible, he'll probably try and get back Raw to 2 hours. I mean, I know it's the business decision of why that happens, but I like to think he would. And obviously, looks like he's got his new team going on. I think William Regal will be a massive part of the WWE once Triple H takes over. I feel like he'll probably be like Triple H's right-hand man, kind of like what Patterson to Vince was for all those years. From what I gather, signing Jeremy Borash was on Triple H's team and all that. And it's obviously, I think some people get carried away and feel like, yeah, Triple H is going to take over and everything's going to be immediately better. It'll probably take a lot of time when it happens, because I think like a WWE without Vince is going to be a really strange time, isn't it? I mean, that's going to be a massive transition. Behind the scenes, the biggest transition in the history of the company, in my opinion, is going to be. So, now, do I think Triple H is going to be amazing? He'll probably do well, but I've definitely got a hell of a lot more confidence in Triple H taking the WWE forward than I do Vince right now. So we'll see what happens when that time comes. If you're a wrestler, what will be more important to you? Being a great wrestler or having a great character? It's got to be the character, hasn't it? I mean, especially if you want to go to the WWE. I mean, obviously I think now more than ever being a great wrestler is important, because I feel like today's fan base wants that more than fan bases from the past. But I always think it's about the personality. I mean, I always feel like if you've got a great character, you can get a push like fairly quickly and then develop as a wrestler later. He's an example, Elias. Look at Elias now. He's got a good character. He's getting plenty of TV time. He's getting himself over, and he'll develop as a wrestler. He'll get better as a wrestler later, type thing. I also, when I talk about characters, I always give 2 examples. The 2 examples I always give. First one is Eddie Guerrero. For years and years, Eddie Guerrero, one of the best wrestlers on the planet. In the ring, outstanding. But it wasn't till when did he truly start to get over as a top guy? When he did the lie, cheat and steal thing. When he showed his character. That's when it showed WWE that he could do the entertainment side as well as the in-ring side. And that's when he truly formed a connection with the fans that propelled him into main event status. And the other example, Daniel Bryan. When did Daniel Bryan truly get over as a top guy? During the Team Hell No things, when he was showing his personality. I mean, Daniel Bryan of 2010, 2011 wasn't all that over. I mean, he was over on a mid-card level, but he wasn't top guy over material. And then obviously 2012, when he turned heel with AJ Lee doing the yes thing, he started getting over. But then I really think the Team Hell knows what got him to that next level with the fans and showed the WWE that Daniel Bryan could not only be an awesome wrestler, but he can be entertaining as well. And then the last question, do you think Cody Rhodes is overrated? Seems like he thinks he's a shit, even though when he had a match with Okada, it looked like he didn't even belong in the ring with Okada. I will say no, he's not overrated, and let me tell you why. Because most fans' opinions of Cody is this, that he's a decent in-ring performer, but he's not a great in-ring performer. So if most people have the same opinion of him, he's not really overrated. I mean, if everyone is saying Cody Rhodes is one of the best wrestlers in the world, then yeah, it'd be overrated. But I think for the most part, he's correctly rated as a solid in-ring performer, but not a great in-ring performer, which I think has been proven. Although I will say, I think he's a great, well, he's not a great character, but I think he's definitely a better talker than he is a wrestler. I mean, on the indie scene, I think he stands out as a good character. And I do actually think he's been getting better in 2018 because I've seen a few of his matches in New Japan now. They're like, obviously, the Kota Ibushi match at Wrestle Kingdom was really good. I feel like I don't know if you've seen it, but last week on Horizon, him and Marty Scurll against the Golden Lovers, that was an excellent match and probably Cody's best match to date. But I feel like the big test for Cody is going to come at Supercard of Honor in his matches with Kenny Omega. I feel like those are the matches where Cody will break out and have his first truly great singles matches. I'm thinking, if you can't have an awesome match with Kenny Omega, then there's something really wrong there, isn't he? And as far as Ring of Honor, I don't think he's overrated there either. I feel like, fair enough, he was a Ring of Honor champion. I had no problem with that, because let's be face it, this is not vintage Ring of Honor anymore. This is not Ring of Honor with Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Nigel McGuinness, Kevin Steen, people like that. There's not who else really is Ring of Honor right now. I mean, the fact that Dalton Castle is a champ should tell you a lot. I mean, you got Jay Lethal, but he's kind of been there, done that, worn the T-shirt. Who else really? I think most of the people like Omega and that are pretty much New Japan guys who sometimes work Ring of Honor. So maybe a guy like Marty Scurll. So I had no problem with Cody being a Ring of Honor champion last year. He was probably the right guy to go with at the time. And I do feel like he's getting better. I feel like 2018 has to be, it's either make or break for him, I think, in New Japan. I mean, he's either going to break through and make some progress, or if he doesn't, he might end up just fading away and going back to WWE in 2019, 2020, something like that. So yeah, then we got Mr. B to late 90. Who do you think Seth Rollins will face at WrestleMania? Well, I think you asked me this like 2 weeks ago. Obviously a lot's changed then. Obviously originally it was going to be Jason Jordan, but of course Jordan got injured. Then Rollins had that awesome breakout performance in the Raw Gauntlet match the other week. Then obviously, but now look at the current direction. It's looking like he's in the Intercontinental title hunt, so it's probably going to be The Miz versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. That's the most likely match. You might end up throwing Strowman and Elias in there, so either way, going to be Seth Rollins to be fighting for the Intercontinental title, which I suppose is fine, but it's just a bit of a come down from really after his last two WrestleManias. Obviously cashing the Money Bank at 31, beating Triple H at WrestleMania 33, but so it looks like Intercontinental title. Favourite WWE pay-per-view theme of all time. Easy answer for me. Limp Bizkit My Way for WrestleMania 17. Feel like that was a perfect song for that pay-per-view. Love that pay-per-view theme. Because if you remember, this is 2001. You kids might not know, Limp Bizkit was so hot in 2001. So as a teenager in 2001, I liked Limp Bizkit. I loved the WWF. So it made a great match. Made a great partnership. Oh, this was around time. Hot dog, what's a hot dog flavoured water and Starfish album came out. That was a huge album at the time. And obviously, yeah, I just feel like, and obviously I think this was one of the first like actual songs to use for a pay-per-view. I mean, they had Highway to Hell for SummerSlam '98, but for the most part, they used to use in-house themes. And I think this was the start of them using like rock songs for a while for the pay-per-view themes. And this was got to be that one then. What are some AJ Styles matches you'd like to see that we haven't seen yet in WWE? There's not many really, because for the most part he's pretty much wrestled most of the people I want him to wrestle. I mean, he wrestled John Cena, he's wrestled Roman Reigns, he's wrestled Chris Jericho, wrestled Brock Lesnar, and obviously WrestleMania, obviously it's not confirmed yet, but it's obviously going to be AJ Nakamura for WrestleMania, so that was a big one ticked off. So I feel like there's a few left, but I think the main one has to be Seth Rollins. I mean, obviously, he's wrestled Finn Balor as well. That was one that was ticked off the list. So he hasn't wrestled Seth Rollins yet, and obviously that's a big one I want to see. That'd be awesome if that ever happens. If they ever get on the same brand or something like that, or if not, if they wrestle Survivor Series next year. Just throwing that one out there. I would love to see him and Samoa Joe wrestle in a WWE ring. Now, obviously, AJ and Joe had a story rivalry in TNA years ago. Probably wrestled in Ring of Honor a few times as well, and probably other indie promotions I don't know about. But if I was in a WWE ring, that'd be fucking fantastic, wouldn't it? Really. And then one, I'm just gonna throw it out there: AJ Styles versus Braun Strowman. That for me could be one of the greatest big man little matches of all time. Just picture it in your head. Braun Strowman just throwing AJ Styles around the ring with some wild moves, and AJ absolutely selling his arse off. It'd be fantastic. And maybe AJ Triple H, because why not? I mean, that might be cool if they ever did that. AJ Styles versus Triple H, that might be interesting. So those ones really. Then we got Brendan Santoro with Omega versus Cody happened to Supercard on a WrestleMania weekend. I can't help but think why Omega versus Cole didn't happen before Cole left for NXT, since it was teased for months. So the question is, do you think Omega Cole could have been even bigger and a better in-ring wise matching Omega Cody might be? I would plead innocent, I don't know what you're talking about. Wasn't watching New Japan at the time of this happening. Wasn't watching Ring of Honor, so I have no idea about this teasing the Bullet Club with Omega and Adam Cole. So to answer your question number one, I don't think it'll be a bigger match than Omega and Cody. I feel like that's a bigger match. Cody's a bigger star than Adam Cole. This one's been built up well. But as an in-ring match, yeah, I definitely think it would be better for the simple reason Adam Cole's a better in-ring performer than Cody. Number two, do you think Roxanne 2 was the right move for WrestleMania 29? No. First off, two reasons. Obviously, I've talked about a million times before, but I'll talk about it again. I think it pretty much insulted the once in a lifetime slogan for WrestleMania 28. So I really didn't like that. Yeah, I know wrestling hype and all that, but they said that they beat us to death with the once in a lifetime shit, knowing full well they were going to do it a year later. And obviously, I don't think fans really want to see Roxanne again. I think we're all satisfied with Roxanne 1. Don't think we needed the rematch. And number two, CM Punk should have been in the WrestleMania 29 main event one way or another. Whether that's one-on-one match with Cena, one-on-one match with The Rock, one-on-one match with someone else. So, but for me, I think the best option was to have CM Punk versus John Cena versus The Rock for the WWE Championship Triple Threat main event for the WWE title. You could have done that. Give CM Punk his WrestleMania main event, potentially satisfied him enough that he wouldn't leave the next year. And accomplish the same goal, have Cena beat The Rock in a triple threat match to get his win back, because obviously they had to do that, didn't they, because that's what they really wanted to do. And then, yeah, you could have protected Punk by having him lose the title without losing it, so him and Cena could have feuded later on down the line for the title. So that's, for me anyway. Looking back, I think it was the right move to turn Rollins heel and break up the Shield, said Ambrose. Yeah, I really do. Obviously at the time, I think most people wanted Ambrose to turn heel, but I feel like overall in the long run it was a right move. I mean, Seth Rollins made a great heel for a little while he was building himself up with the Money in the Bank and all that. His title reign wasn't the greatest, but that was more down to Booker than Rollins himself. I probably would have worked just as well with Ambrose, but in a way I think Rollins was better at playing that slimy heel, that little scumbag heel than Ambrose would be. So yeah, I think overall it was definitely the right move for business overall. Do you think Hogan versus Mike Tyson happens at WrestleMania 6? It would be the biggest match of all time. Hypothetically, yeah, I think it really would. I mean, because obviously Mike Tyson was a mega star in 1990, just as he was in 1998 when he was at WrestleMania 14. But say we somehow did Tyson versus Hogan for WrestleMania 6, yeah, I think it would have been actually. I think, especially from a mainstream standpoint, you would have had so many people watching that match that weren't wrestling fans. So, gosh, imagine what the buy rate would have been at that time. It would have, I think it would have shattered all records basically. All eyes would have been on that match for sure, absolutely. Then we got most underrated NXT takeovers. So, a lot of the earlier ones, because obviously I feel like NXT's grown over the last couple of years, so I feel like definitely a few of the 2015 ones. I feel like was it Respect, the one where Bayley and Sasha with the Iron Woman match main event, the first Dusty Classic, because that give the Revival and American Alpha a great platform to get over. Apollo Crews and Tyler Breeze had a really underrated match on that show. And obviously the Bayley Sasha match was a classic. I feel like Takeover London totally gets forgotten about now. But overall, that was a really good show. We had Samoa Joe, Finn Balor in a great main event. Bayley, Nia Jax for the women's title. Revival versus Enzo and Cass. Asuka and Emma, a really great opener. Liked that one a lot. I'm trying to think. So, the one to take off the end, the last Full Sail one, so the one with Nakamura versus Austin Aries, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor cage match. What else was on there? Trying to think. Revival American Alpha, where Authors of Pain made the NXT debuts. Takeover Toronto, looking back, gets quite underrated because obviously you had the classic DIY Revival match. Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura match, that was great. What else on there? Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger, that was a really good match. Asuka versus Mickie James was pretty good. And I can't remember what the other match was, to be honest with you. There was one more match, but I can't remember what it was. Nah, it's gone. Nah, I can't remember. There was a fifth match on the card, but I can't remember what it was. So those ones, I would say. Right. Then next questions. Prince of Strong Style 9v2. What are 5 ways you could improve WWE? Right. So this is a question I've been most looking forward to answering when I read them. This is probably the best question of the entire Q&A. So if you really want to know, listen up. So I'm just imagining myself, I've got a blank sheet of paper in front of me. And I've got control of WWE. What is the first thing I do? The first thing I would do is cut the content down. So obviously I put Raw back. Obviously business decision. I put Raw back to 2 hours. Put SmackDown to 2 hours. Then limit it to 12 pay-per-views a year maximum. Maybe even down the line reduce it to 8 or 10. Obviously this could give us leeway to maybe do the odd like Beast and East style live special. Obviously then hand 205 Live over to someone else. Let someone else handle 205 Live. Keep NXT as is. So the best way to start is to have less content to write, less TV to fill, to give myself the best chance of doing a good job, because I feel like overexposure is definitely one of WWE's biggest problems right now. There's just too much content out there, and to a not very good product either, so that's a problem. It's been a problem for about 2 or 3, 4 years now, I think. So obviously 2 hours of Raw makes Raw a lot easier to write, and then SmackDown's own thing, and then second thing, and this is something WWE should do but they're probably never going to do, get rid of all the Hollywood writers. Stop that just hasn't worked. Obviously it hasn't really been successful for as long as you've been doing it. Get rid of them and then replace them with wrestling bookers. Go back to wrestling bookers. I mean, these analogy I like to give. If I owned a studio, would I hire a bunch of wrestling bookers to write a sitcom? No, I wouldn't. Why not? Because the wrestling bookers. So, and it's the same with wrestling. I don't understand. You but write Hollywood TV writers to write a wrestling show, but most of them don't understand wrestling, don't like wrestling, don't give a shit. And on the same vein, cut the writing team down. I mean, I've heard stories of the WWE writing team having upwards of 20, 30 people on the writing team, and for me that's just plain ridiculous, because how the hell can you get things done, really? I mean, think about it, right? Say 20, 30 of us were booking WWE. We wouldn't be able to do it, really, because how can we can't agree on things. I mean, I might have a different vision to you, and this guy might have a different vision to you, and there'd be divisions in the camp, wouldn't there? Because me and my crew would be arguing for this, and you and your crew would be arguing for this. So they only have 2 or 3 writers for the show, maybe a head writer, then 1 or 2 assistants, and then I'll be the owner, I'll be the one overseeing it. So but there's so many great wrestling minds out there not being used. Steve Austin, Jim Ross, Jake the Snake Roberts, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Shawn Michaels, Raven, a lot of great wrestling minds out there not being utilised by the WWE. These are the guys I would want writing the show. Obviously, I don't really know anything about writing wrestling, really. I mean, I can read books and stuff like that, but see, I was running WWE, I would want expert people around me to write these shows. And I would have, but then I would also split the teams up. Have Raw have two or three bookers, have SmackDown the same, and encourage competition. Say, show me if you write a better show than SmackDown. Let the SmackDown guys try to be better than Raw, that sort of thing. Third thing, scrap the gimmick pay-per-views. Get rid of them. Hell in a Cell, all that shit, Elimination Chamber, TLC, etc., and change it back to how it should be. Gimmick matches happening for a reason. I mean, I never liked the gimmick pay-per-views when they introduced them in 2009. The 9 years since then has not changed my mind. Particularly the Hell in a Cell one. I feel like the Hell in a Cell pay-per-views really hurt the Hell in a Cell's aura, because back before it was like two guys that had this big, long, intense feud and needed to settle the rivalry inside Hell in a Cell, whereas now it's like, well, October's around. We need something to be a Hell in a Cell match, so let's put Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match. Or what was it last year? Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell match. So not obviously TLC the same. You have random matches, the TLC that are ladder matches and shit, and they only really exist because you've got that pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber the same. I mean, give the fans a reason to have an Elimination Chamber. Have an issue with multiple guys that needs to be solved inside the chamber. So scrap all that and just replace them with random names. Maybe bring some of the old names back. I mean, obviously they brought stuff like Backlash, but bring back things like Judgment Day, Armageddon, Unforgiven, etc. Number 4, I would say, let the guys develop their own characters and put more of the guys in the characters and stop scripting every single promo. I mean, it's just, I feel like it's one of the big things that worked in the Attitude Era, or even back in the day. I mean, Ric Flair's character was Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes was Dusty Rhodes, Stone Cold Steve Austin was Steve Austin, The Rock was The Rock, even later, like, with Triple H was just a hammed up version of himself. We do see it from time to time, like, I believe John Cena's more of a version of himself, people like that. Let these guys put more of themselves in the characters. I mean, that's been the most proven formula for success. I mean, you have the odd ones, like the original Undertaker character and all that, and the Ultimate Warrior, but for the most part, let the guys be themselves, and then don't script every promo. I mean, you can see half the time when a wrestler is reading a script and promo, if they don't do it well, it looks like it's exactly that. A guy sat there memorising a script. I mean, I can tell Jinder Mahal was WWE champion. Every word that came out of Jinder Mahal's mouth was a written promo, because it was basically the same promo over and over again. I feel like Roman Reigns has had problems like that, where instead of cutting a promo, it looks like he's memorising a script and it just looks so bad. So let these guys obviously give them direction. You can't just have them go out shooting on each other, but I don't know, just tell them basically what you want to get across, and then let the guys cut their own promos, because I feel like they'll come across more natural and it will just make better television. You want an example? Why do you think fans like talking smack so much? Because you could tell for the most part, these were unscripted promos. Guys were just going out there and talking, and I feel like a lot of people got over there as a result. I mean, Baron Corbin did really well on that show. Alexa Bliss came across really well on that show. And another one, do you remember build up a Survivor Series where on the Raw and backs Baron Corbin and The Miz got the phones out, cut a promo on each other and put it out there on Twitter? Is it me, or was those promos far more entertaining than anything they could have done on WWE television? Because they were just going out there unscripted and cutting promos on each other. It was awesome, wasn't it? And I feel like if you had more of that in WWE would just be an all-round better place. It really, really would. And the last one, and perhaps most importantly, just listen to your audience. It's that simple. This goes a lot more than just saying, oh, let's turn Roman Reigns heel, or push Daniel Bryan to the moon. No, more things than that. I mean, Here's an example. This Rusev thing is getting really over, right? I mean, I'm sure you've been seeing it, how the fans have been reacting to it. But for some reason, WWE don't really have any intention of utilising it. I mean, if that's me, it doesn't matter if I like Rusev or not. That's irrelevant. If I'm seeing this and seeing this getting over, I'm thinking, oh, there you go. Fans enjoy this Rusev Day. Let's market this Rusev Day thing. Push this guy. Let's maximise his potential and try and make as much money out of him as possible. Another one for me personally, New Day. Hate the New Day gimmick. I can't stand it. The whole unicorn shit, the whole pancakes thing, kind of stand it. I think it's ridiculous. But that's really because I'm a 31-year-old man. But so as a 31-year-old man, I can't stand this New Day crap. But it's over. The kids like it. The fans react to it. So if I was in charge, regardless of my feelings, I would keep pushing New Day like that, because that's what the fans want to see. I mean, there's so many examples over the years that times fans were getting behind a wrestler and they just ignored it. Cesaro, Zack Ryder, Damien Sandow, plenty of examples. And I just feel as a result, a lot of guys that could have been over big stars never became big stars because of that. Because of this, really. And obviously, let's just disregard the moment all the times he ignored Roman Reigns getting booed and all that shit. That's not really a big issue at the moment. Obviously, remember crap like, who the hell asked for Jinder Mahal to be WWE champion? Nobody. Yet they did it because they wanted to, for no apparent reason. So those are my 5 things I would do to improve the WWE. Then we got, everyone's been complimenting WWE for the decision to give Triple H full control of 205 Live, which has paid off so far. And the rumours / news is doing co-branded pay-per-views after WrestleMania. Do you think with these choices, along with some others, that this will benefit the product at least until after WrestleMania? As far as the example you've given, obviously 205 Live has been really good, but that's not affecting the product overall, because like 205 has been its own thing and it's really good, but the good 205 product is probably not going to bring in any more fans. I think it's a good show for the people who will subscribe to the network and the die-hard wrestling fan, but I don't think people are going to suddenly subscribe to the WWE Network to watch 205 Live. But one here, I think like what you've just said there with the dual branded pay-per-views, I think it's going to be a good thing overall. Biggest reason for me anyway, it looks like WWE's going back to 12 pay-per-views a year, which that can only be a help, because let's face it, a pay-per-view every 2 weeks was just getting unbearable. I mean, from 18 to 20 pay-per-views a year, that's just madness. I thought it was a horrible idea when it happened, and it just didn't work. And some of the single branded pay-per-views have just been awful. Well, not especially the SmackDown ones. They've just kind of been there. I mean, you get 1 or 2 exciting matches, but for the most part, you get crap like the Ascension versus Breezango and crap like that. The random matches that people don't really give a shit about. But obviously, I think the one downfall is a lot of the lower mid-card talent are going to struggle to get pay-per-view time now, which is a shame. Obviously, that's going to affect the bottom line, but overall, I think the pay-per-views will be a lot better. We'll get a lot more important matches on pay-per-views. Like, for example, we'll have 2 world title matches every pay-per-view. Most of the big stars. So, for the most part, the pay-per-views will be a lot more star-studded. I think overall, quality-wise, it's just going to be better than a lot of the single-branded pay-per-views we've had. Would you agree that aside from New Japan and NXT, one of the best alternatives out there right now is the UK wrestling scene, Rev Pro, Progress, Defiant, etc.? Yep, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I'm not really that interested in Defiant / What Culture Pro Wrestling, to be honest. I mean, I'm just not really that interested in that, to be honest, but I have watched quite a bit of, well, not a lot of Rev Pro, but more Rev Pro than I usually do, and I catch little bits of Progress, usually about certain matches and certain guys I'm interested in. The last match I saw was Zack Sabre versus Tyler Bate about the other week. Rev Pro, I think, is a really good alternative. I mean, they've got a nice mixture of British stars, so obviously British stars such as Zach Gibson, people like that. Obviously top UK stars that are also well known in America, such as Zack Sabre Jr., Marty Scurll, Will Ospreay. Then international talent such as Matt Riddle, Tomohiro Ishii works there sometimes. Minoru Suzuki works there sometimes. I mean, obviously they have a deal with New Japan where New Japan sends them talent sometimes. I think Shibata was the Rev Pro champion, so Rev Pro, I'm really interested in that. Progress, hear a lot of good things about it, but I haven't really sat down and watched an entire Progress show, but maybe I will in the future. But I would say definitely if you want an alternative, you can definitely look at the British scene right now. I mean, it's really got some buzz over the last 4 or 5 years. Obviously there's stuff like Insane Championship Wrestling, which I haven't actually seen, but I've heard a lot about. Preston City Wrestling, stuff like that. So if you're looking for some other alternative wrestling, UK scene's a really good route to go. Then we got what are some past or present wrestlers you can see potentially being good actors and movies, along with guys like The Rock, at least from a talent level. Maybe Minoru Suzuki as a villain could be cool as shit. This is a weird one, but I feel like Rusev would be really good at comedy. I mean, I've seen some of his acting before, and he really has this comedy timing. He's got this great quality I love where he's not afraid to make fun of himself, so I feel like he could do really well in a movie. Tomohiro Ishii would make a great odd job, wouldn't he, in a Bond film? Yeah, I'm probably casting a massive racial stereotype on him, but still, I feel like he'd be really entertaining in that. Kind of surprised Randy Savage didn't go in the movies back in the day. I feel like especially with his voice and all that, I mean, he could have, obviously in his range, he could have done a lot. But I don't think anyone ultimately was as successful as The Rock was, because I don't think anyone has everything The Rock had at the time. Youth, great body, great looks, charisma. I just don't think anyone could really do what The Rock's done. I think The Rock's the only one in wrestling who could have really done that. And then, last question for you. Beginning from 1992, sorry. What was the biggest hidden gem of the year? If you can't choose, then choose one per promotion. No, I'll try and do one each. So, 1992. It's not out there on the network yet, I don't think, but on a Coliseum video back in the day from July of 1992, Bret Hart and Randy Savage versus Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. It's probably out there on YouTube or Daily Motion or something like that, but you definitely should check that one out. In 1993, I will go with Vader versus Ricky Steamboat Lumberjack match for the WCW World Title from WCW Saturday Night in maybe August of 1993. Saw this match on the History of the World Heavyweight Title DVD a long time ago. Haven't seen it in years, but I remember really enjoying it. It was a great big man, little man match with Vader's power and Ricky Steamboat selling. Really good stuff. 1994. 94. We'll go with Owen Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kids from Raw in August of 1994. Not the King of the Ring match, the rematch that they had on Raw like a couple of weeks before SummerSlam. That's an entertaining shit match. 1995. Let's have a think. 1-2-3 Kid and Bob Holly versus Bam Bam Bigelow and Tatanka from Royal Rumble 1995. I really do enjoy that match. I think it's a really good match, actually. 1996. Austin versus Savio Vega strap match from In Your House Beware of Dog. Austin's first real standout match in the WWF. Because it was on a low pay-per-view like Beware of Dog, and Savio Vega's not that memorable of a wrestler, probably tends to be forgotten about, but I liked it anyway. 1997, I think I've said this one a few times, 6-man tag Slamboree main event. The Outsiders, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall and 6 against Ric Flair, Roddy Piper and Kevin Green in Charlotte, North Carolina, no less. Really like that match. I think that match is fantastic. 1998, I would say, let's have a think. 98, D'Lo Brown versus Val Venis from SummerSlam. That's a hugely enjoyable opener. Really like that match a lot. 1999, Juventud Guerrero versus Blitzkrieg from Spring Stampede. That's one of the hottest cruiserweight openers ever that a lot of people don't forget about, because not many people really remember Blitzkrieg, really, do they? I mean, it wasn't that memorable the character at all, but this match was awesome. Then year 2000, I'll go with, let's have a thing here, Dean Malenko, Scotty 2 Hotty from Backlash On the card they had The Rock versus Triple H, Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko and Scotty 2 Hotty had a hell of a match on the undercard. Easily Malenko's best ever match in the WWF, and maybe the only time they really let him beat Dean Malenko in the WWF. Definitely Scotty 2 Hotty's best ever match. Just an awesome match all round. Really was. 2001, I will go with, to have a think. I think it's somewhere from 2001. Benoit versus Jericho versus Eddie Guerrero versus X-Pac from No Way Out. That was a great Fatal 4-Way match. Obviously, forgotten on the card mainly because it was Rock and Kurt Angle and Austin versus Triple H. Those two classic matches. But this was an awesome match as well. One of Eddie's last great matches of his first WWF run. A rare great match with X-Pac during that time. And of course, Benoit and Jericho. Awesome stuff. 2002, I would say. Perfect. Chris Benoit versus RVD from SummerSlam, Intercontinental title match. Again, like other matches I've talked about, buried on a great pay-per-view such as Angle versus Mysterio, Rock versus Lesnar, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. This was awesome. Actually one of RVD's best technical wrestler matches. Like a match RVD had without all these stunts and all that. Him and Benoit worked tremendously well together, and it was a really enjoyable match. 2003, I'll go with Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman versus the world's greatest tag team from Vengeance. That is one of the best non-gimmick WWE tag matches in that era by far. Haas and Benjamin were awesome. Rey and Kidman made a great little team at the time. 2004, I'll go with Paul London and Billy Kidman from No Mercy. That was a great match. I mean, obviously because this feud wasn't that big of a feud and all that, but this match was actually quite fantastic. 2005. Let's have a think about 2005. I will go with Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles from Sacrifice. Not the turning point match, not the triple threat Unbreakable with Christopher Daniels, but the match, I think it was an X Division Cup or something like that. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles had a match at Sacrifice 2005. That was actually a fantastic match. Really great match, worth checking out if you haven't seen it. 2006, triple threat match, Hard Justice, Samoa Joe versus Rhino versus Monty Brown. One of the most underrated hardcore brawls ever, especially in TNA as well. Obviously, this was Samoa Joe right before Kurt Angle came into feud with him, so it was in the middle of Samoa Joe's streak. Obviously, Rhino had a great run in TNA. Monty Brown had a great run in TNA. This was a great match. Definitely a match worth checking out if you've not seen it. Then we got 2007. Let's have a think for 2007. I'll go with Christian versus Kazarian from Genesis 2007 ladder match. I can't remember what the ladder match was for, what they were fighting over now. Must have been a number one contendership or something. For the life of me, I cannot remember what was on, what they were retrieving, but it was definitely one of Kazarian's first standout matches, an underrated match from Christian. Really good stuff. 2008, go with Jericho, Shawn Michaels from Judgment Day. Obviously that year we had the unsanctioned fight Unforgiven, the classic match at No Mercy ladder match. But this was the first pay-per-view match, and it was a great match, and actually an essential building block to the story. Without this match being so successful, the feud might not have continued as it did. Great match. 2009. Let me have a little think. Christian versus Jack Swagger from Backlash. Really like that over. No, let's take that back. Christian versus William Regal from Breaking Point for the ECW title. Really like that feud Regal and Christian had in 2009. I feel like ECW in 2009 was actually a really good show. It was just a solid 1 hour wrestling show. And these two veterans just had a good match on a pay-per-view, which was cool. 2010, Chris Jericho versus Evan Bourne from Fatal 4-Way. I mean, obviously on a totally unmemorable pay-per-view that only happened once, we had this great gem of a match between Chris Jericho and Evan Bourne. I mean, Evan Bourne got a push for about 2 weeks and then he just kind of forgot about it, and Chris Jericho put him over clean, but like 3 weeks or month later, this was just totally forgotten about, which is a real shame, because this was a really good match overall. 2011, CM Punk versus Rey Mysterio from Capital Punishment. Just a little cough there. Loved that match. It was right before the pipe bomb. Obviously they weren't feuding at the time because they had the big feud in 2010. So it was really a throwaway match to give Punk a big win before he went on to face Cena at Money in the Bank. But it was a great match nonetheless. Fantastic match actually overall. 2012. What can I? 2012. I have no idea at the minute. Mine's gone blank. Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler from No Way Out opener. Well, that was a really good gem of a match. That stands out as being a great match that no one really talks about. 2013, maybe Christian versus Del Rio from SummerSlam. Hell of an underrated match. Obviously in that card was Cena Bryan, Punk versus Lesnar. But damned if Christian and Del Rio didn't have one hell of a gem on that card as well. That was a fantastic match, like it really was. 2014. What can it be for 2014? I cannot think at the moment. Mine has gone totally blank. Let's have a think, lad. I have no idea. I cannot think of maybe the Usos versus the Wyatt family. No, the Shield versus the Wyatt family from main event in April, about the week after WrestleMania 30. I mean, obviously you had more high prop, but obviously for a while you had some good matches on WWE main event, and this was really one of them. This was an awesome 6-man tag match. 2015, Chris Jericho versus Neville from Beast in the East. Obviously this was on a live special. Chris Jericho wasn't wrestling much at the time. This was a fantastic match, really worth checking out if you haven't seen it. And then 2016, let me think. Maybe Jericho and AJ from WrestleMania 32. I feel like a lot of people get angry about the result, and for good reason, but the match is actually pretty great, and a great first WrestleMania match for AJ Styles, and all that. I mean, yeah, the result was bullshit, but the match was really good. And then 2017, I'll go Samoa Joe versus Seth Rollins from Payback. That was a hell of an underrated match that not many people talk about. So, and that's a wrap for you. And the last set of questions come from Brandon Alexander, and this is a good one. Who would you believe will be the 20 wrestlers in the G1 Climax this year, especially when you factor in injuries and retirement? So, let me have a guess. Obviously, let's get the obvious ones out of the way. Okada, Kenny Omega, Tetsuya Naito. Tanahashi's back for the New Japan Cup, so he'll be there, obviously. Kota Ibushi, Minoru Suzuki, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii. Then 2 big debutants this year will be Cody and Jay White. So we've got 10 so far. I'll say both Evil and Sanada will be in there. Juice Robinson, Michael Elgin. Obviously, I think Yuji Nagata's retired from G1s, I think. I mean, Satoshi Kojima's out as well. So I guess Togi Makabe, he'll be in there. So that's 15. So 5 more. And we usually get at least a member of a tag team in there. So I'm thinking Tama Tonga will probably return this year. Where we'll have Zack Sabre Jr. will be back in the G1s. Taishi's now a heavyweight, so he'll probably be in there. Probably a test for him. I'll go out on a limb and I'll predict Kushida will become a heavyweight soon, and he'll be introduced by entering the G1. And then last spot, I think maybe Davey Boy Smith Jr. They'll put him in there. That'll be pretty cool. So those are my choices. Now, you want me to rank these reboot WrestleManias that I came up with? Obviously, it's only assuming storylines leading up but changed somewhat to accommodate a new card. So we've got. So hang on. So let's have a look. I'll go if you last one with WrestleMania 32. They're all alright, got no problem. No fast lane triple threat, but have the main event be Triple H versus Roman versus Lesnar versus Ambrose, with Ambrose winning. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn for the IC. Add Kalisto and Ryback a ladder match, and give the no holds barred street fight to Styles and Jericho. So I'm assuming you have an Undertaker and Shane exactly the same there. You haven't actually stated that, but then your next one, WrestleMania 25, you've got Undertaker HBK to go on last. Orton versus Triple H versus No DQ in the middle of the card. Give the Hardys more time, and no Santino in the Missed Battle Royal. So then your second best, I think you've got CM Punk doesn't drop WrestleMania 29. CM Punk doesn't drop the title to The Rock, and you have Punk and Triple H versus the main event. Rock versus Brock and Cena versus Undertaker. I like the Rock and Brock versus Cena Undertaker, but what would the storyline behind Punk and Triple H be? I mean, I'm interested, but I wouldn't mind you explaining why you say that. And then obviously I think your best one you've got is really this one. You've got Triple H WrestleMania 20, Triple H versus Benoit, Rock versus Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley and Randy Orton hardcore match. Moved up the WrestleMania instead of Backlash. Add Ric Flair and Batista to the Raw Tag Team titles. Everything else is the same. So yeah, that's my best one, WrestleMania 20. Then best WrestleMania logo, best WrestleMania poster, and best non-WrestleMania pay-per-view poster. So best WrestleMania logo, I did like the, obviously because what I grew, I like the WrestleMania 10 logo. I thought that looked cool as fuck. Best WrestleMania poster, WrestleMania 7. You remember the whole big exaggerated buffed up cartoon version of Hulk Hogan with the American flag? I love that one. And then best non-WrestleMania pay-per-view would have to be the Heart and Soul SummerSlam 1997 match with the Bret Hart and the Undertaker. That was a fucking awesome poster. And that's a wrap, guys, and another hell of a long video, well over 2 hours. So thanks for all your questions, guys, and until next time, peace.